Creating your vision. When you write down your goals, your primary aim is to create a new vision for what you desire to experience next in life, so that you can begin to make that vision a reality. So what do you do when you sit down to write a vision for your life, and you're coming up with a lot of blanks that you just aren't sure about? Guess. It really is that simple. Just take a stab at it. Don't even worry about making your best guess. Just make any guess that seems remotely reasonable. Now take that guess and run with it. Write 1 to 2 paragraphs to describe the vision that pops into your mind when you think about that possible direction. Make sure your vision is written with positive, present tense statements. Add some emotion to your vision. Include how you expect to feel. I'm thrilled to be. I'm feeling deeply grateful as I. Don't worry about whether your guess is right or wrong at this point. Truthfully, this isn't a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of suitability for you. You're free to make whatever choices you desire. You just want to identify choices that make sense for you. You want to make choices where you can expect a very positive outcome. Now reread that vision statement once or twice per day. As you read it, imagine it as already real. See yourself there. This should only take a minute or two to do the visualization part for a single goal. Maybe 30 seconds once you're accustomed to it. As you imagine your vision as real, notice how you feel about it. Do you feel really, really good about it? Does it appeal to you on an emotional level? Or do you feel neutral or negative about it? Do you feel some hesitation or resistance? Quite often, something will feel a little bit off when you visualize your vision. That's perfectly fine. If it's a very vague feeling of unease, just keep renewing this same vision on a daily basis for several more days. Allow your mind to expand and play with the vision a little more each time. Eventually you'll get a sense of whether the vision is a keeper or if it needs some tweaking. Your vision may be just right to begin with. Maybe it feels great every time you imagine it. You know you want it. You're practically lusting after it. That's great. You've found a keeper. Hold on to that vision, and keep renewing it each day. This will help to imprint the vision onto your subconscious. Usually within a month or less, sometimes much less, you'll see evidence that this vision is already becoming real for you. Another possibility is that as you imagine your vision, your mind will begin to tweak it in different ways. It will twist it in a slightly different direction or add more details to improve it. Keep renewing that vision until it becomes a keeper, or it becomes clear that the vision just isn't working. And finally, you may encounter a situation where your vision just doesn't quite come together in a way that feels good to you. Maybe it's internally incongruent. Maybe it doesn't mesh well with some other part of your life. In that case, ask yourself, what is it about this vision that fails to delight me? Take note of the details of the vision that just aren't working for you. It can be helpful to write them down. This is a time where it's okay to be negative. Identify the parts of the vision that don't feel right. Now ask yourself how you can re-engineer those broken parts of the vision to create something better. Maybe the problems are minor and you can swap in different details to improve the vision. Or maybe the problems are so deep that you feel it's best to throw out the whole vision and start over from scratch with a totally different direction. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle. However it turns out, that's perfectly okay. You're using your imagination to test your vision, running the vision through your feelings as a filter. If it doesn't feel right to you, you know that something is off and needs tweaking. If you continue to hold a vision that feels off, your negative feelings will block you from allowing it to become real. So it's important to get your feelings on board. Holding a vision that doesn't feel right is a waste of time. Holding a vision that makes you feel nothing special is also a waste of time. Once you update your vision to correct the problems, repeat the process. Write out your new vision. Then visualize it as real on a daily basis for several more days. Notice how you feel about it. Use your feelings to identify problems. then revise the vision to take a stab at correcting the problems. This is an iterative process. You probably won't get your vision just right on the first attempt. You probably won't get it right on the second or third attempts either. But with each pass, you'll get closer to your true desires. When you eventually have a vision that passes your emotional filters, it tends to manifest very quickly. I've seen some amazingly fast transformations occur in my life when I reached that point. Sometimes a new vision shows up the very next day, like it was just waiting for me to become a match for it. Other times I'll see breadcrumbs leading me right to it. I review my written visions each morning. I have a few paragraphs of vision statements for each area of my life: career, finances, health, relationships, family, and social life, workflow and order, personal and spiritual, and lifestyle, travel, and adventure. You don't have to use the same categories. I just find it helpful to make sure I'm creating a vision for each important part of my life. If you don't create a vision for each part of your life, someone else will do it for you. The intentions of others will fill in the blanks. You see, you're always working to fulfill some vision. Either you're creating and fulfilling your own vision, or you're working on someone else's vision for you. There is no neutral. If you aren't creating your own vision, then you're obediently fulfilling a blended vision created by others, such as the vision that you should be a good citizen and taxpayer, that you should relate to people a certain way and live a certain kind of lifestyle, and that you should manage your affairs a certain way until you die. If you're in love with the vision that society is expecting you to live out, then there's no point in creating your own vision. But if you'd like to hold the reins of your own destiny and direct your life path more consciously, then you must absolutely create a vision for yourself. By default, you are visualizing the status quo. Without a grander vision to occupy your thoughts, you will naturally succumb to the habit of thinking about what you're already getting, and you'll often feel some emotions when you do so. This is exactly how you hold the intention to manifest more of the same. So by default, you are automatically holding intentions to keep getting what you're getting. This is why it's rather silly to complain about your problems. Sometimes people come to our discussion forums and write really long posts to explain what they're experiencing in life and why they don't like it. What they don't realize is that what they're doing is the exact process necessary to ensure that they'll experience more of the same. They're imagining their past and present as they write about it, and they're feeling strong feelings as they do so. They are using the power of vision to create a future that resembles their past and present. If you want to create something different than what you're already getting, do not do what I described in the previous paragraph. It's stupid. This is the exact opposite of an intelligent solution. Only do this if you want to be stupid. And if you catch someone doing this, please refer them to this article, so they can hopefully understand why it cannot possibly work. And so that they'll get some motivation to start creating a new vision, even if they have to guess at first. Incidentally, if you want to see a prime example of what not to do, here's a good one from a few days ago. I'm not trying to single out and embarrass the original poster or anything like that, but I do want to emphasize that it's totally fruitless to do such things. I've been guilty of this myself at various times, so I'm certainly no angel here. Hopefully in the next few days, other forum members will share some good examples of posting about their dreams and desires. Lots of positive ripples are created when people do that. Instead of reviewing and rehashing what you don't want, create the vision of what you do want. If you feel a need to post something online, post about your dreams and desires. Write a really long, emotional post about what you most want to experience next in life. This way you won't make the terrible mistake of reinforcing what you're already getting. I like to do this publicly at least once a year by writing about my primary focus for the upcoming year in advance. What's really cool about that is that when I share my vision in public, some people will find that my vision appeals to them too, and they offer to help me make it a reality. That help wouldn't come to me if I didn't feel so good about what I wanted to create that I was willing to share it publicly. Your willingness to share your desires publicly is a good test of how ready you are to experience them in reality. For more on that idea, see the article Broadcast Your Desires. If you don't like what you're already getting, the best thing you can do is to ignore it. Turn your back on it. Stop dwelling on it. Only pay the minimal amount of attention to it that is truly essential. Turn the bulk of your attention, and emotion, to the new vision you've created. Spend more time living in the new reality you're creating as opposed to the old one you wish to leave behind. This will quickly draw that new reality into your life in physical form. Don't worry about trying to be perfect at this. Just do the best you can. The more you can turn your attention away from the past and towards your new vision, the better. The more you practice this, the easier it gets. Going with the flow only makes sense if you're going with the flow of your own vision. If you don't have a clear vision and try to live in such a way that you go with the flow, all you're doing is going with the flow of social conditioning. It just means you're going with the flow of the default social vision for you. There will be a flow that you'll experience in that case, but it can be chaotic at times, and it's generally very slow moving. But if you love what you're experiencing and you love the current pacing of your life, then technically there's nothing wrong with going with the social flow. It's an option that's available to you. Personally, I'm not a big fan of going with the social flow. I find it tediously slow. With my own clear vision, I can create something in less than a month that would otherwise take years to create if I went at the pacing of the social flow. An individual can greatly outpace a pack that moves at the speed of its slowest member. Keep tweaking your vision as you feel the need to do so. Keep renewing it once or twice per day. Feel the feelings of being there. Eventually you'll create a vision that feels so good that you'll find it immensely pleasurable to just sit back and imagine it as real. You may reach the point where you'd rather live in your new imagined reality than in your current physical reality. That's what creates the shifts that make your vision a reality. Happy manifesting. Broadcast your desires. Do you hide your true desires from the world? Do you pretend you want one thing while silently desiring something else? For example, do you desire a new lover or playmate while giving potential partners the impression that you'd like to date them first? Do you want to be earning a lot more money while broadcasting that you're satisfied with your current career? Are you making your true desires abundantly clear, or are you holding them inside while broadcasting an entirely different message to the world? Are you engaging in false advertising, either by broadcasting a false desire or by failing to broadcast your true desire? Consequences of broadcasting your desires. Don't just write down a list of goals for yourself. Share your key goals with others. Let your friends and associates know what you desire to manifest or achieve, especially for desires that may come to you through your social circle. When you do this, you can expect certain logical consequences. First, some of your friends will be supportive of your new direction. They may offer suggestions, resources, or other assistance to help you get there. If you keep quiet about your goals, they can't help you. But if you speak up, you give them the opportunity to help you move forward. And of course, when your friends tell you about their goals, you can do your best to assist and encourage them as well. On the other hand, some of your friends will respond with neutrality. Perhaps they don't care about your new direction, or they simply can't help you with it. This is not a problem. It's just a situation to be accepted. And most likely some of the people in your life will reject your new direction. For whatever reason, they won't be able to accept it. They may react with sarcasm, criticism, or other forms of non-support. This is actually beneficial to you because these people are revealing that their presence in your social circle is incongruent with your new direction, so now you know where you'll need to make some cuts. It doesn't matter if they're friends or family members, they're making it clear that they can't accept your new direction and that they're unwilling to support you on this journey. It's generally a waste of time to try to convince them, so don't get clingy. Simply let go, and drop the unnecessary drag on your forward momentum. Say to such people, I understand that you can't accept my new direction, but I'm doing this anyway, so if you're going to oppose me in this, then I'm going to have to drop you from my life. Either you learn to accept this part of me, or we'll have to each go our separate ways and let go with love, okay? A personal example: several weeks ago I began expressing that I wanted to explore domination submission as an alternative relationship model. I wanted to explore the dominant side with a woman who wanted to explore the submissive side. As you might expect, some people in my life were supportive and encouraging of this decision, some were opposed to it, and many were neutral or simply curious to see what unfolded. From the first group, I received a lot of support, advice, and encouragement, which continues to this day. I was surprised to see how many people fell into that group. As for the second group, I really didn't see any serious criticism except from random people who don't even know me, so I didn't lose any friends over it. Actually, I seemed to make more friends because of it. But most people apparently belonged to the third group, curious to see what would happen but fairly open-minded. In terms of what happened specifically, a woman quickly came into my life who wanted to explore the submissive side of a D/S connection. Her name is Rachel Fordyce. She and I had met briefly at the first Conscious Growth workshop in October 2009, but we didn't get the chance to say more than a few words to each other back then. After I started expressing interest in D/S on Facebook in December, she got in touch with me to ask some questions about it. One thing led to another, and shortly thereafter I invited her to play together, and she agreed. Since then Rachel and I have been having an amazing time together. We spent a couple weeks together in January in Vegas. This week we've been staying in an apartment in Hollywood together. From the beginning we did a lot of D/S play, which was very fun for both of us. However, within a week it became clear that our connection was becoming much deeper, and we ended up totally falling in love with each other. It's hard to label our connection at this point, but boyfriend-girlfriend is close. Beyond that we might have to shrug our shoulders. We continue to enjoy D/S role-playing, although it's not something we do all the time. D/S is a form of play that we still both enjoy, sexual and otherwise. We easily slip in and out of those roles when the mood strikes, but lately we've been spending more time exploring other aspects of our connection. Like me, Rachel is a raw food-loving, long-term vegan. Some of her family members call her Rawshell. She doesn't have a regular 9-to-5 job, so we both enjoy plenty of time freedom. She's also a major Trekkie. I was pretty impressed when she beat me at Trek Trivia several days ago. Currently we're tied at 1-1, awaiting the tiebreaker match. You can visit her blog http://www.rachelfordyce.com if you want to say hi to her. She is mostly human. Lately Rachel and I have been doing disgustingly lovey-dovey things together. On Wednesday we enjoyed a really fun day at Disneyland, and yesterday we explored the LA Natural History Museum. We've also been hitting various vegan and raw restaurants in the Hollywood area, Flora, Crew, M Cafe, etc. This weekend we'll probably hit the west end of town and the beach. We can't really say where our connection is headed, but a bit of mystery just makes it all the more fun and helps us fully embrace the present moment. It's fair to say that if I hadn't been willing to broadcast what I was interested in exploring, and if Rachel hadn't made clear her interest to me, then we might never have connected in this way. It would have been sad for us to miss out on such an amazing connection together, and for what? Fear of being judged by invisible critics? What are your true desires? In order to live consciously, you'll often need to release socially conditioned habits and behaviors that don't serve you. For example, in the area of relationships, you don't have to stick with the traditional dating model. If you love going out on dates, then this model may be fine for you. But if you'd really like to connect in other ways, then there's no point in approaching new relationships from a traditional dating frame. In a recent forum discussion, one forum member asked whether it was wise to have sex with someone on the first date. I suggested that if you simply want to have sex with someone, you can skip the first date entirely and go straight to the sex. Focus on attracting partners who want the same thing. Don't broadcast that you want to date someone if you really just want someone to sleep with. There are many people who'd prefer to enjoy a sexual connection first without all the baggage that dating entails. Then if they enjoy the sexual chemistry, they may choose to deepen that connection. However, such people won't know that you hold the same opinion if you keep quiet about your true desires and blindly follow socially conditioned rules. Rachel and I didn't start out by dating each other. We began by discussing what we both wanted to experience in terms of D/S and sex play, including spelling out in detail some of the things we wanted to try. When we got together in person, it was easy to dive straight into the shared experiences we both wanted. Shortly after walking in the door, we were already making out. I'll spare you the details about the blindfold. We did enjoy many fun dates in the weeks ahead, but only after we'd shared lots of physical intimacy together. Maybe this approach seems backwards compared to the traditional dating and sex model, but it worked out beautifully for us. Since our connection began with such openness and honesty, it's been incredibly frictionless and blissful. For example, since we know that we're both physical affection whores, we sleep cuddled in each other's arms, hold hands as we walk down the street, enjoy long jacuzzi nights, and smooch each other constantly. Did you know that Pirates of the Caribbean is a terrific make-out ride, by the way? Rachel and I also love simply spending time with each other, whether we cuddle up to watch a movie or go out and do something fun. Our connection has been strong, at least in part because we connected on the basis of what we both wanted to experience as opposed to blindly following a socially conditioned model of what a relationship is supposed to look like. If we followed a more traditional model, most likely we never would have connected like this at all. We'd have missed out on so much fun, happiness, and love. Speak up. Do you share your true desires, or do you keep them hidden? How do you expect to manifest what you want if you're afraid to openly broadcast that you want it? If you can't broadcast your desires, it's fair to say you don't own them yet. How can your desires become real if you can't speak up about them? If you're going to receive them, then let it be known. If you find it necessary to hide what you desire, that suggests you aren't ready to receive. Of course, there will be consequences to broadcasting your desires, but one of those consequences is that you're more likely to actually get what you want. All the seemingly negative consequences become irrelevant and meaningless when you're enjoying the manifestation of your desires. Do you think Rachel and I care that some people may criticize our willingness to enjoy D/S play together? We do care. We remain open to feedback and don't tune out the whole world, but critical comments don't get us down. Rather, such judgments have been a source of mutual amusement. We've shared many laughs about them, like the commenter that posted, "I just threw up in my mouth." Similarly, do you really think you'll be too worried about what others think about you while your desire is sitting on your lap and smooching you passionately? Expanding abundance. One of the cool things about the abundance mindset, or the abundance vibe to be more accurate, is that once you figure out how to lock into that state in one part of your life, you can use what you have learned to expand it to other parts of your life. For example, suppose you're already enjoying a great deal of social abundance. Maybe you have a lot of good friends, and you're able to make new friends easily whenever you want. You always have people to hang out with whenever you want. In this part of your life, you've already achieved abundance. And now suppose you're struggling in the area of finances. Maybe you're in debt, and paying your bills is a burden. Perhaps you have a hard time generating income consistently. Or you feel compelled to take on jobs you dislike to make enough money. In this part of your life, you're still stuck with scarcity. You can apply what you have learned in the abundant part of your life to rework the scarcity-driven part of your life and gradually raise it up to a level of abundance. Abundance and scarcity are simply different patterns of relationships. You may have one type of relationship with your social life and another type of relationship with your finances. You may have one relationship with your work and another relationship with your health. Your relationship lessons can be generalized and transplanted. Just as you can use lessons applied from one human relationship to help you improve another human relationship, you can also apply your internal relationship lessons across different areas of your life. I recommend that you explore in writing, such as through journaling, how you think and feel about the most abundant part of your life. Where are you getting the best results? What's your attitude toward that part of life? How do you feel about it? What kinds of actions do you take in that area? How do you relate to this part of your life? How are you managing this particular relationship, and how is it responding? How do you deal with success in this area? How do you handle setbacks? How do you keep the flow going? Do you have help, or do you manage it alone? Are you active or passive? How did you create these results in this part of your life in the first place? Then do the same for the part of your life where you're experiencing scarcity. Ask and answer the same types of questions. Aim to get a clearer sense for how you're managing each of these relationships. Compare and contrast your answers. I'll bet you probably notice some major differences between how you relate to different parts of your life. Now consider how you can apply what's working from your most positive internal relationships to your most negative ones. What can you do differently? What type of vibe is working best for you? How shall you approach the scarcity-driven parts of your life such that you can bring more abundance to them? This approach has done wonders for me. First I worked on financial abundance. Then I used those lessons to achieve time abundance. Next I achieved social abundance. And lately I've been exploring intimacy abundance. The general high-level pattern is essentially the same each time. It starts with creating and holding the right vibe. Another step involves releasing fear and letting go of attachment to outcomes, putting myself in a place of knowing that I can have whatever I desire. Then I have to work through various blocks and limiting beliefs that are keeping me stuck at the old vibration. And finally, I need to courageously receive the new level of abundance, which invariably requires stepping outside my comfort zone. For me this process usually plays out over a matter of months, maybe a couple of years max. The main limiting factors are how long it takes me to identify and release limiting beliefs and how long it takes me to summon the courage needed to leave my comfort zone behind and receive something new. Another tip that can accelerate your progress significantly is to bring people into your social circle who are already enjoying abundance in the area of life in which you'd like to experience abundance too. So if you want more friends in your life, for example, start hanging out with the most socially abundant people you know. Their vibe will soon rub off on you, and you'll slide into that new reality faster. Try this for yourself, and be patient. Enjoy the journey of moving from scarcity to abundance, but don't think you have to get there overnight. How to raise your financial vibration. In this article I'll share some practical tips for raising your financial vibration and expanding your financial comfort zone. If you dislike the term vibration, don't worry about it, it's arbitrary anyway. Feel free to substitute other words like acuity, prowess, intelligence, or even results. Over time we tend to fall into financial patterns that generate a fairly narrow range of results. We become comfortable with certain financial experiences, even if we don't like those experiences, they're familiar to us, so we gravitate back to them. In order to raise your financial vibration, and improve your results, You have to shift your comfort zone. This normally requires pushing yourself through a period of discomfort. You must release the familiar to experience the unfamiliar. Here are the basic steps to follow. 1. Assess your current financial comfort zone. Answer the following questions as honestly as you can. 1. What level, or range, of income feels comfortable and normal to you, neither being stressfully scarce or excitedly abundant? What's the income level where you'd start to worry if you fell below it? What's the income level where you'd start to get excited if you rose above it? 2. What amount, or range, of cash feels comfortable and normal to you, neither being stressfully scarce or excitedly abundant? What's the cash amount where you'd start to worry if you fell below it? What's the cash amount where you'd start to get excited if you rose above it? For example, you might define your income comfort zone as $30,000 to $50,000 per year. And perhaps your cash comfort zone is $2,000 to $8,000. Your own figures may vary wildly from these amounts. The only correct answer is whatever feels right to you. Don't worry about being super precise here. Obviously there's some guesstimation involved, but try to come up with specific figures to answer these questions. Your goal is simply to get a clearer picture of your current financial equilibrium. You could have negative numbers here too if being in debt or experiencing a negative cash flow falls within your current comfort zone. Your answers define your present financial equilibrium. You'll tend to gravitate to this range whenever you step outside it. When you fall below each range, you'll be driven to work harder to get back up again. If you start reaching the high end, you'll be hitting the edge of your comfort zone and will tend to slide back down again, often via self-sabotage or slacking off. 2. Define your new financial comfort zone. Review your answers to the questions in the previous section. Now realize that these figures are totally arbitrary. You probably fell into these patterns based on what you learned from other people. If you had wealthy mentors, your figures are probably higher than most people. If you surround yourself with people who are broke or in debt, your figures are probably on the low side. Ultimately these amounts are under your control. You can change them if you want. You can choose to stop reinforcing the old comfort zone and push beyond it. Now define a new equilibrium you'd like to reach. There's no right or wrong answer, but I recommend doubling every number as a good step. When I want to reach a new level, I usually aim for a 3 to 5x increase because I like to push myself. If it takes me a few years to get there, I'm okay with that. It's a fun challenge to tackle. 3. Clarify and accept the consequences of your new financial vibration. Imagine what it would be like to be at your new levels, not in fantasy but in actual reality. How would this affect your lifestyle? What consequences and side effects can you imagine? Can you accept those consequences? For example, will you need to start making new friends because you can see that some people will hold you back or react negatively if you starting doing better financially? Erin and I lost a few friends as our finances improved. Some people started acting really weird around us, and it became obvious that they had major limiting beliefs about money, so we let them go. Then we attracted new friends who weren't so blocked in this area. This isn't a bad thing per se, it's just a shift you will need to deal with. It's very important to spend some time visualizing what your lifestyle will be like after you shift your financial equilibrium. Imagine going through your daily routine in your new reality. You might be excited at first, but there are always trade-offs. Can you accept all the natural consequences? For example, can you handle paying a lot more taxes? If you double your income, your taxes may more than double. Do you anticipate any problems in your social network? Do you expect that a career change would be necessary, and can you handle that? If you can't accept the consequences and side effects of your new financial equilibrium, it's extremely likely that you'll make no progress in this area. The gravitational pull of your current comfort zone will be too strong. For more on this topic, read the article Fear of Success: What Will Happen If You Succeed? 4. Break your old comfort zone, and build scaffolding to support your new equilibrium. Now we're getting into the action phase to initiate the shift. A very effective way to escape your old comfort zone is to change the scaffolding of your life. This requires only a temporary burst of self-discipline instead of having to push yourself every day. If you have to push yourself hard every day, you'll probably fail to complete the shift. A better approach is to make changes to your environment that break your old patterns and begin conditioning new ones. If you detect that any parts of your reality would conflict with greater financial abundance, you must break them, drop them, or leave them behind. If you want to orbit a new financial planet, you must escape the gravity of your current planet. You can't keep one foot on each planet. You don't have to get every detail perfect. You just have to achieve a tipping point where you stop resonating with the old levels and start resonating with the new ones. This is where you start saying, "I quit," to anything that isn't consistent with your new levels. If you're in a dead-end job that can't possibly help you reach your new equilibrium, set a deadline for quitting. If it's clear that your job will only reinforce your old equilibrium, there's no point in pretending you can stay. You don't have to quit right away, but you do need to accept that you'll eventually have to quit. You don't have to stress yourself over the big changes right away. Start with the easy changes first, especially those that are low risk. Don't spend money you don't have, but do be creative in altering your environment, especially your home and your social network. Start reinforcing the new equilibrium more than the old one. This is a good time to clean house. Dump all the old junk that's inconsistent with your new equilibrium. Review your social network, and start unplugging yourself from relationships that you know will be unsupportive after your shift. Then start building bridges with people you expect will help support you after your shift. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make wealthier friends. It just means you need to weaken the bonds with people who would resist your financial growth and strengthen the bonds with people who will support you. Make a list of other changes you'll implement as more money begins to flow into your life, such as upgrading your computer, overhauling your wardrobe, taking a nice vacation, or buying more organic produce. Imagine that those things are becoming part of your daily routine. Implement those changes when you can afford to. As you make small shifts one by one, you'll build momentum. The support structure for your old comfort zone will eventually crumble, and you'll gradually create a scaffolding for your new comfort zone. If you find it too difficult to implement real changes because of too little time or money, then make the changes symbolically. For example, you can draw or cut out pictures that represent your new equilibrium, and then post them on your walls. One time when I wanted to increase my income, I put a small fountain in my office and said to the universe, "This is my wealth fountain." It represents the flow of more money into my life in exchange for the flow of information and ideas I'm giving to others. Then I put other objects around the fountain that represented abundance and growth to me, such as a couple of plants. My income shot up rapidly during that time. I encouraged Erin to try putting a wealth fountain in her office too. She did that and got excellent results as well. By the time you've completed this step, you should feel that you have burned the ships behind you and that there's no turning back. This doesn't mean burning the food and supplies too. It simply means that you're clearly committed to moving forward. There should definitely be some pain if you try to slink back to your old comfort zone. For example, you may endure some humiliation for begging your old friends to take you back after telling them you have to let them go. 5. Take inspired action. As you continue to work on #4, your old comfort zone will begin to feel less and less comfortable. You'll start feeling more congruent with your new equilibrium, even though you may not see any evidence of it in your reality yet. You might be making $50,000 per year, And even though you have been comfortable near that level for years, now it feels uncomfortably low to you. You start feeling a pressure to make more money. $100,000 per year seems like it would be a lot more comfortable to you. When I experience this positive pressure, it feels similar to sexual arousal. It's like I have this pent-up energy inside that needs to be released. It's actually a good feeling, more like estrus than stress. The release of this energy is the eventual manifestation of my desires. When the energy is strong enough, there's a sense of inevitability about it. You can just feel you're going to get there. It's as if the manifestation is out of your hands now because the universe is working on it behind the scenes. For example, I have this sense of inevitability that my book will be released on October 15th. It hasn't happened yet, but I can trust that it can and will happen. I feel the presence of a lot of pressure that needs to be released. When my book finally comes out, I'll probably feel relieved. The pent-up energy will finally flow into physical form. This is how it feels right before you transition to a new financial equilibrium. There's this build-up of pressure, and you sense it needs to be released. If you aren't at this point, keep working on step 4 until you get there. You simply haven't created enough arousal yet. At this point you're ready to take some inspired action. Generally the way this happens is that you'll start noticing new opportunities that are consistent with your new equilibrium. Your new energy level will attract them into your life. You'll notice new ways to earn more money. You don't have to take major risks. Just start acting on the opportunities that present themselves. Your intentions will manifest in the form of opportunities, but you need to actively seize those opportunities. When it finally comes, your final shift can occur pretty rapidly. One week you're feeling the positive pressure, and the next week the pressure has been released, and your equilibrium has already shifted. Focus on the opportunities that allow you to create more value for others. Realize that making more money isn't selfish. It's actually incredibly generous, assuming that you earn income by contributing equal or greater value, as opposed to stealing or mooching off others. If you double your income, it means you're contributing twice as much value to others. The money you earn is an IOU from society. If you have $1 million in the bank, it means you've given at least $1 million more value than you received. That's very generous. If you're in debt, it means you're taking more than you're giving. The more value you contribute, the more society owes you in return. If you allow your income to stagnate, it means you're holding back on the contribution side. That's lazy and selfish. Focus on expanding your contribution, and you'll find that society gives you a lot more IS. 6. Enjoy the results. When you successfully alter your financial equilibrium, allow yourself to feel grateful for the shift. Embrace the new possibilities and lifestyle changes you can create. Genuine gratitude will help you lock in the changes and prevent you from backsliding. It may take a while to become comfortable with your new financial position. Don't panic. Just relax and enjoy the ride. Growth tends to occur in quantum leaps. It's unusual to experience steady linear growth for an extended period of time. What seems like linear growth is often just a form of stagnation. For example, you may get an annual raise that barely compensates for inflation, tax increases, and other expenses, but your lifestyle remains relatively fixed because you didn't increase your contribution. If you want to experience a new level, you must be the one to initiate and sustain the shift. The point of hitting different financial tiers is to experience them fully and to learn and grow from your experiences. Once you've absorbed the key lessons of a certain level, you're ready to progress to a new level. You're in charge of the pacing. A personal example for me: the major growth lessons haven't been on the side of attracting and spending more money, or even embracing more abundance. They've been on the side of finding my true voice and learning to create and share more value. While I agree you can create shifts by focusing on the lifestyle gains, most of my personal breakthroughs have been on the side of creative self-expression. I had to tear down my old comfort zone of being at a certain level of contribution and pass through the uncomfortable zone of stepping up to a new level. For example, I'm currently going through the shift from blogger to published author. I can't really say how this will impact my income. It obviously can't hurt, but the biggest part of this shift occurred in my sense of creative self-expression. I had to go through the steps above to create a sense of positive pressure to write a book. I didn't have to do that. I could have stuck to my old comfort zone as a blogger. For example, my comfort zone of writing was articles in the range of 1,000 to 8,000 words. My book is longer than 10x my longest article. But I also wanted to write a book that was more than a compilation of articles. I wanted to create something unified and coherent. I needed an idea that would fit the long form of a book. This was a big shift that took me well beyond my comfort zone. So that was steps 1 and 2. For step 3 I had to ask myself, do I really want to be an author? It was reasonable to assume that my book would get a lot of attention because of my blog. Did I really want that? How would my friends react if I became a published author? Would that bother anyone, such as people who talk about writing their book someday but never follow through on it? Did I really want more email, more interview requests, and more scrutiny? It took me a while to reach the place where I was willing to accept the natural consequences of this shift. For step 4 I made a number of small changes to shift my comfort zone. I gave myself permission to blog less often, so I could have more time for my book. I created a chapter outline on my office wall from about 200 colored sticky notes, so whenever I sat at my desk, I couldn't help but notice the rainbow-colored wall in front of me, a constant reminder to work on my book. I told my friends I was writing a book, so they'd always ask me about it. I blogged about it too. That created more accountability and helped burn the bridge behind me. It would have been more uncomfortable not to write the book. As I created this positive pressure to write my book, opportunities began coming to me. Eventually I got an offer from Hay House and negotiated a publishing deal with them. It all went pretty smoothly because I'd shifted my equilibrium. By the time they approached me, I was ready to become an author. The opportunities came to me, but I still had to act on them. That took a lot of work, but by this point there was no turning back. That was step 5. Step 6 is still pending. The result that excites me the most is learning how people apply the book's ideas to solve problems and make improvements in their lives. I'm not worried about whether or not everyone likes it. I accept that I can't please everyone. But I can anticipate that these ideas will generate positive results for many people because that's the effect I've experienced. Not a day goes by where I don't consciously and deliberately apply the principles in the book. So when you seek to raise your financial vibration, realize that it isn't just about attracting more money and experiencing more abundance. Pay special attention to the contribution side as well. If you want to double your income, think about doubling your value output. How can you increase your contribution? The simple answer is that you either need to serve more people, or you need to deliver more value to each person you serve, or both. Can you go deeper? Can you go broader? For example, writing a book allows me to go deeper and broader. It goes much deeper than any article or series of articles I've written. There's nothing on this site that compares to what I was able to convey in the book. Secondly, by expanding into an offline medium, I can get these ideas into the hands of a lot more people than I can reach with my blog. People who've never heard of my blog will be able to find the book in their local bookstores, including non-English translations in various countries. You can create these kinds of shifts even if you work at a regular corporate job. You just have to think about putting yourself in a position where you can contribute more value to the people you serve, deeper, or where you have the leverage to positively impact more people, broader. This may be done by shifting to a more leveraged position within your current company, or it may require switching companies. You might even start your own business. You have many options, But you must be the one to initiate the shift beyond your current comfort zone. The word comfort might sound, well, comforting. But too much comfort for too long is not a good thing. I encourage you to view comfort not as an accomplishment but rather as a state of decline. If you are too comfortable, you're coasting downhill. You're slowly dying on the inside, while something inside you longs to experience passion and excitement once again. Instead of long-term comfort, aim for growth. Focus on increasing and expanding your contribution, and your rewards will naturally follow. When considered in isolation, a major financial gain isn't a reward that's worthy of you. It's a hollow victory that can comfort your body, but it cannot stir your soul. The soul-stirring reward is looking back on your life with deep gratitude for all the growth experiences you enjoyed, as well as those you endured, and feeling lovingly connected to all the people whose lives were made a little bit better by your presence. The law of attraction. The law of attraction simply says that you attract into your life whatever you think about. Your dominant thoughts will find a way to manifest. But the law of attraction gives rise to some tough questions that don't seem to have good answers. I would say, however, that these problems aren't caused by the law of attraction itself but rather by the law of attraction as applied to objective reality. Here are some of those problematic questions. All are generalizations of ones I received via email. What happens when people put out conflicting intentions, like two people intending to get the same promotion when only one position is available? Do children, babies, and your animals put out intentions? If a child is abused, does that mean the child intended it in some way? If I intend for my relationship to improve, but my spouse doesn't seem to care, what will happen? These questions seem to weaken the plausibility of the law of attraction. Sometimes people answer them by going pretty far out. For example, it's been said by lawyers that a young child experiences abuse because he intended it or earned it during a past life. Well, sure. We can explain just about anything if we bring past lives into the equation, but that's a cop-out. On the other hand, objective reality without the law of attraction doesn't provide satisfactory answers either. Supposedly some kids are just born unlucky. That's a cop-out too. I've never been satisfied by others' answers to these questions, and they're pretty important questions if the law of attraction is to be believed. Some books hint at the solution but never really nail it. That nail, however, can be found in the concept of subjective reality. Subjective reality is a belief system in which, 1. There is only one consciousness, 2. You are that singular consciousness, and, 3. Everything and everyone in your reality is a projection of your thoughts. You may not see it yet, but subjective reality neatly answers all these tricky law of attraction questions. Let me explain. In subjective reality there's only one consciousness, and it's yours. Consequently, there's only one source of intentions in your universe, you. While you may observe lots of walking, talking bodies in your reality, they all exist inside your consciousness. You know this is how your dreams work, but you haven't yet realized your waking reality is just another type of dream. It only seems solid because you intend it is. Since none of the other characters you encounter are conscious in a way that's separate from you, nobody else can have intentions. The only intentions are yours. You're the only thinker in this universe. It's important to correctly define the you in subjective reality. You are not your physical body. This is not the egoic you at all. I'm not suggesting you're a conscious body walking around in a world full of unconscious automatons. That would be a total misunderstanding of subjective reality. The correct viewpoint is that you're the single consciousness in which this entire reality takes place. Imagine you're having a dream. In that dream, what exactly are you? Are you the physical dream character you identify with? No, of course not, that's just your dream avatar. You are the dreamer. The entire dream occurs within your consciousness. All dream characters are projections of your dream thoughts, including your avatar. In fact, if you learn lucid dreaming, you can even switch avatars in your dream by possessing another character. In a lucid dream, you can do anything you believe you can. Physical reality works the same way. This is a denser universe than what you experience in your sleeping dreams, so changes occur a bit more gradually here. But this reality still conforms to your thoughts just like a sleeping dream. You are the dreamer in which all of this is taking place. The idea that other people have intentions is an illusion because other people are just projections. Of course, if you strongly believe other people have intentions, then that's the dream you'll create for yourself. But ultimately it's still an illusion. Here's how subjective reality answers these challenging law of attraction questions. What happens when people put out conflicting intentions, like two people intending to get the same promotion when only one position is available? Since you're the only intender, this is entirely an internal conflict within you. You're holding the thought, the intention, for both people to want the same position. But you're also thinking, intending, that only one can get it. So you're intending competition. This whole situation is your creation. You believe in competition, so that's what you manifest. Maybe you have some beliefs, thoughts and intentions, about who will get the promotion, in which case your expectations will manifest. But you may have a higher order belief that life is random, unfair, uncertain, etc. So in that case you may manifest a surprise because that's what you're intending. Being the only intender in your reality places a huge responsibility on your shoulders. You can give up control of your reality by thinking, intending, randomness and uncertainty, but you can never give up responsibility. You're the sole creator in this universe. If you think about war, poverty, disease, etc., that's exactly what you'll manifest. If you think about peace, love, and joy, you'll manifest the two. Your reality is exactly what you think it is. Whenever you think about anything, you summon its manifestation. Do children, babies, and your animals put out intentions? No. Your own body doesn't even put out intentions, only your consciousness does. You're the only one who has intentions, so what takes precedence is what you intend for the children, babies, and animals in your reality. Every thought is an intention, so however you think about the other beings in your reality is what you'll eventually manifest for them. Keep in mind that beliefs are hierarchical, so if you have a high-order belief that reality is random and unpredictable and out of your control, then that intention will trump other intentions of which you're less certain. It's your entire collection of thoughts that dictates how your reality manifests. If a child is abused, does that mean the child intended it in some way? No. It means you intended it. You intend child abuse to manifest simply by thinking about it. The more you think about child abuse, or any other subject, the more you'll see it expand in your reality. Whatever you think about expands, and not just in the narrow space of your avatar but in all of physical reality. If I intend for my relationship to improve, but my spouse doesn't seem to care, what will happen? This is another example of intending conflict. You're projecting one intention for your avatar and one for your spouse, so the actual unified intention is that of conflict. Hence the result you experience, subject to the influence of your higher order beliefs, will be to experience conflict with your spouse. If your thoughts are conflicted, your reality is conflicted. This is why assuming responsibility for your thoughts is so important. If you want to see peace in the world, then intend peace for everything in your reality. If you want to see abundance in the world, then intend it for everyone. If you want to enjoy loving relationships, then intend loving relationships for all. If you intend these only for your own avatar but not for others, then you're intending conflict, division, and separation. Consequently, that's what you'll experience. If you stop thinking about something entirely, does that mean it disappears? Yes, technically it does. But in practice it's next to impossible to uncreate what you've already manifested. You'll continue creating the same problems just by noticing them. But when you assume 100% responsibility for everything you're experiencing in your reality right now, absolutely everything, then you assume the power to alter your reality by rechanneling your thoughts. This entire reality is your creation. Feel good about that. Feel grateful for the richness of your world. And then begin creating the reality you truly want by making decisions and holding intentions. Think about what you desire, and withdraw your thoughts from what you don't want. The most natural, easiest way to do this is to pay attention to your emotions. Thinking about your desires feels good, and thinking about what you don't want makes you feel bad. When you notice yourself feeling bad, you've caught yourself thinking about something you don't want. Turn your focus back towards what you do want, and your emotional state will improve rapidly. As you do this repeatedly, you'll begin to see your physical reality shift too, first in subtle ways and then in bigger leaps. I too am just a manifestation of your consciousness. I play the role you expect me to play. If you expect me to be a helpful guide, I will be. If you expect me to be profound and insightful, I will be. If you expect me to be confused or deluded, I will be. But of course there's no distinct me that is separate from you. I'm just one of your many creations. I am what you intend me to be. But deep down you already knew that, didn't you? Responsibility and the Law of Attraction, August 14, 2006 by Steve Pavlina. Responsibility for our lives is something we never lose but which we often deny. As I've said many times before, you can give away control but never responsibility. The ultimate responsibility for how your life turns out rests with you and you alone. Not with your parents, your boss, your ex, your society, God, or anyone else. You can blame whomever you wish, but you're the one who must experience, or endure, the results. I sometimes receive feedback from people stuck in the pattern of thinking about what they don't want. They claim to be focusing on their desires religiously, and they ask me why their goals don't seem to be manifesting. Then they explain all the reasons they believe they're having so much trouble. If I were to write a template for such emails, it would look something like this: I don't understand. I'm frustrated that. I hate my. I can't figure out. I'm stressed about. I'm worried that. I should be able to. But I can't. Why am I having so much trouble? That's quite a list of intentions, isn't it? And of course this is exactly what the person is manifesting. What's missing, however, is that he hasn't accepted responsibility for these results. The law of attraction brings you what you think about. To think is to ask. Every thought is an intention. The law of attraction is totally neutral, it doesn't filter what you ask for. If you think about what you want, you get it. If you think about what you don't want, you get that too. If you want to manifest your desires, then it makes no sense to write statements like the above. Even when your desires haven't yet manifested, remain hopeful and optimistic. Pour on the positive intent, and allow the law of attraction to work with you. Stay in the present moment. Be on the lookout for synchronicities. If you start getting frustrated, take a walk or do a meditation to nip it in the bud. Otherwise you'll negate your desires by intending their opposite. The key to mastering the law of attraction is responsibility. You must accept personal responsibility for everything in your life. And I do mean everything. If you perceive it, you've manifested it. Whatever you give your attention to will expand. How do you learn to stop thinking about what you don't want? Accept responsibility for attracting it. This raises your consciousness and makes you more capable of successfully applying the law of attraction to get what you do want. Suppose I go on an outing with my kids, and they misbehave like crazy. They pick fights with each other, and I get frustrated with them. Afterwards I have to admit that I attracted this situation by my thoughts. I unconsciously intended it. Perhaps I remembered a previous unpleasant outing as we were leaving. Maybe I was noticing the first sign of conflict and worrying it might escalate. If I gave it any thought, I activated the law of attraction. By assuming responsibility for creating my reality, I also assume the power to change it. I can consciously put more energy into thinking about what I do want. Some of those negative thoughts will still pop into my mind, but I can drown them out with positive alternatives. I can imagine a pleasant outing with the kids even when there's no external evidence to support it. I don't need to see proof out there when I'm the one creating the proof in the first place. As I keep my intentions positive, I notice almost magically that the kids' behavior improves. When I'm alone with them, they're usually well behaved. But their behavior changes to align with the expectations of whomever they're with. What if I deny responsibility for what I experience? What if I say, something out there is causing these problems, and I'm only noticing what is happening? Then I'm powerless to change my reality. If I focus my thoughts on what I'm already getting, I'll unknowingly activate the law of attraction to continue bringing me more of the same. My situation will never fundamentally change. And how can it change? If I'm thinking about what I'm already getting, then I'm manifesting a loop. It's stable. If my life is filled with the manifestation of my desires, I'm in heaven. If my life is filled with what I don't want, I'm in hell. If you're determined to think about what you don't want, I certainly can't stop you. The best I can do is to hold you accountable for your results, which can help you become more aware of what you're doing to yourself. But if you really want to beat yourself up, go for it. Just note that I won't be joining you for the subsequent pity parties down the road. I'm not coming to save you, nor is anyone else. Only you can save you. Personal testing is the only reason I accept the law of attraction. It's proven itself to me beyond a reasonable doubt. I've been working with it consciously for a few years now, and it still freaks me out sometimes. Who'd have thought we could attract what we want just by thinking about it? Does reality really work that way? If it seems impossible, the thought of its impossibility will manifest like any other. If you don't believe in the law of attraction, you're actually using it to negate itself, which is a perfectly valid application, albeit one that will bring you lots of frustration. One of the reasons I'm so happy and passionate about my life is that I'm getting better at aligning myself with the law of attraction. I'm having a wonderful time experimenting with it. As I think about what I want, I keep wondering when it's going to show up. When I try to control how it comes to me, I usually block it. But when I relax and allow it to happen, that's when it finally begins showing up. The right people, resources, and opportunities somehow find me, usually through unexpected synchronicities. The skeptical part of my brain has trouble believing reality could actually work like this. It requires a new model of reality in which the law of attraction makes sense. Consequently, I've had to make major adjustments to my beliefs to compensate for the law of attraction. This led me towards a more subjective view of reality, which eventually became my default way of thinking. After relaxing my preconceptions about what's possible, I experienced many things I previously thought impossible. For example, on Saturday I saw a fascinating experiment during a Reiki class. I may write about it later once I have a chance to duplicate it. The skeptic in me is much less resistant because he has a new context for explaining how such things might be possible. And each new validation makes it easier to open up to even more possibilities. It all begins with accepting 100% responsibility for your reality. You're the one who's creating it right now. Are you creating what you want or what you don't want? Change your dominant thoughts, and you'll see reality change as well. How to stop complaining? Perhaps the most important step in quitting the habit of complaining is to disconnect the undesirable behavior from your identity. A common mistake chronic complainers make is to self-identify with the negative thoughts running through their minds. Such a person might admit, "I know I'm responsible for my thoughts, but I don't know how to stop myself from thinking negatively so often." That seems like a step in the right direction, and to a certain degree it is, but it's also a trap. It's good to take responsibility for your thoughts, but you don't want to identify with those thoughts to the point you end up blaming yourself and feeling even worse. A better statement might be, "I recognize these negative thoughts going through my mind. But those thoughts are not me. As I raise my awareness, I can replace those thoughts with positive alternatives." You have the power to recondition your thoughts, but the trick is to keep your consciousness out of the quagmire of blame. Realize that while these thoughts are flowing through your mind, they are not you. You are the conscious conduit through which they flow. Mental conditioning. Although your thoughts are not you, if you repeat the same thoughts over and over again, they will condition your mind to a large extent. It's almost accurate to say that we become our dominant thoughts, but I think that's taking it a bit too far. Consider how the foods you eat condition your body. You aren't really going to become the next meal you eat, but that meal is going to influence your physiology, and if you keep eating the same meals over and over, they'll have a major impact on your body over time. Your body will crave and expect those same foods. However, your body remains separate and distinct from the foods you eat, and you're still free to change what you eat, which will gradually recondition your physiology in accordance with the new inputs. This is why negative thinking is so addictive. If you keep holding negative thoughts, you condition your mind to expect and even crave those continued inputs. Your neurons will even learn to predict the reoccurrence of negative stimuli. You'll practically become a negativity magnet. The trap of negative thinking. This is a tough situation to escape because it's self-perpetuating, as anyone stuck in negative thinking knows all too well. Your negative experiences feed your negative expectations, which then attract new negative experiences. In truth, most people who enter this pattern never escape it in their entire lives. It's just that difficult to escape. Even as they rail against their own negativity, they unknowingly perpetuate it by continuing to identify with it. If you beat yourself up for being so negative, you're simply reinforcing the pattern, not breaking out of it. I think most people who are stuck in this trap will remain stuck until they experience an elevation in their consciousness. They have to recognize that they're trapped and that continuing to fight their own negativity while still identifying with it is a battle that can never be won. Think about it. If beating yourself up for being too whiny was going to work, wouldn't it have worked a long time ago? Are you any closer to a solution for all the effort you have invested in this plan of attack? Consequently, the solution I like best is to stop fighting and surrender. Instead of resisting the negativity head-on, acknowledge and accept its presence. This will actually have the effect of raising your consciousness. Overcoming negativity, you can actually learn to embrace the negative thoughts running through your head and thereby transcend them. Allow them to be, but don't identify with them because those thoughts are not you. Begin to interact with them like an observer. It's been said that the mind is like a hyperactive monkey. The more you fight with the monkey, the more hyper it becomes. So instead, just relax and observe the monkey until it wears itself out. Recognize also that this is the very reason you're here, living out your current life as a human being. Your reason for being here is to develop your consciousness. If you're mired in negativity, your job is to develop your consciousness to the point where you can learn to stay focused on what you want, to create positively instead of destructively. It may take you more than a lifetime to accomplish that, and that's okay. Your life is always reflecting back to you the contents of your consciousness. If you don't like what you're experiencing, that's because your skill at conscious creation remains underdeveloped. That's not a problem though, because you're here to develop it. You're experiencing exactly what you're supposed to be experiencing so you can learn conscious creation. If you need a few more lifetimes to work through your negativity, You're free to take your time. Conscious creation is a big responsibility, and maybe you don't feel ready for it yet. So until then you're going to perpetuate the pattern of negative thinking to keep yourself away from that realization. You must admit that the idea of being the primary creator of everything in your current reality is a bit daunting. What are you going to make of your life? What if you screw up? What if you make a big mess of everything? What if you try your best and fail? Those self-doubts will keep you in a pattern of negativity as a way of avoiding that responsibility. Unfortunately, this escapism has consequences. The only way true creators can deny responsibility for their creations is to buy into the illusion that they aren't really creating any of it. This means you have to turn your own creative energy against yourself. You're like a god using his powers to become powerless. You use your strength to make yourself weak. The reason you may be stuck in a negative thought pattern right now is that at some point, you chose it. You figured the alternative of accepting full responsibility for everything in your reality would be worse. It's too much to handle. So you turned your own thoughts against yourself to avoid that awesome responsibility. And you'll continue to remain in a negative manifestation pattern until you're ready to start accepting some of that responsibility back onto your plate. Negativity needn't be a permanent condition. You still have the freedom to choose otherwise. In practice, this realization normally happens in layers of unfolding awareness. You begin to accept and embrace more and more responsibility for your life. Assuming total responsibility, you see. The real solution to complaining is responsibility. You must say to the universe, and mean it, I want to accept more responsibility for everything in my experience. Here are some examples of what I mean by accepting responsibility. If I'm unhappy, it's because I'm creating it. If there's a problem in the world that bothers me, I'm responsible for fixing it. If someone is in need, I'm responsible for helping them. If I want something, it's up to me to achieve it. If I want certain people in my life, I must attract and invite them to be with me. If I don't like my present circumstances, I must end them. On the flip side, it may also help to take responsibility for all the good in your life. The good stuff didn't just happen to you. You created it. Well done. Pat yourself on the back for what you like, but don't feel you must pretend to enjoy what you clearly don't like. But to accept responsibility for all of it. To the extent you're ready to do so. Complaining is the denial of responsibility. And blame is just another way of excusing yourself from being responsible. But this denial still wields its own creative power. Conscious creation is indeed an awesome responsibility. But in my opinion, it's the best part of being human. There's just no substitute for creating a life of joy, even if it requires taking responsibility for all the unwanted junk you've manifested up to this point. When you catch yourself complaining, stop and ask yourself if you want to continue to deny responsibility for your reality or to allow a bit more responsibility back onto your plate. Maybe you're ready to assume more responsibility, and maybe you aren't, but do your best to make that decision consciously. Do you want sympathy for creating what you don't want, or do you want congratulations for creating what you do want? The #1 mistake people make when using the law of attraction. Whenever you form an intention, that intention has two primary components. The first component is the content of the intention. The content is the information part of your desire. It's whatever you decide you want, such as a new career, a better relationship, or an extra $10,000. That part is pretty straightforward. The second component of an intention is the energy you bring to the intention. Some people describe this as a feeling, like passion or gratitude, but the feeling is actually the result of the energy, not the energy itself. However, you know there is energy in your intention when you connect strong feelings to it. I'll explain the energy component in more detail in a moment, but first let's address failure experiences with the law of attraction. I often hear people complain that they've dutifully and correctly applied the law of attraction, but their intentions just aren't manifesting. Some of the more stubborn believers will continue beating their heads against the wall, using the same ineffective approach even though it generates no results week after week. Please don't do that to yourself. Others give up within a matter of hours when their cappuccino grande fails to manifest, concluding that the whole law of attraction concept is bogus. Please don't do that to yourself either. I've previously written an article called "Why Do Intentions Take So Long to Manifest?", which covers some common problems people experience when trying, unsuccessfully, to apply the law of attraction. Now I want to address the most common mistake of all. Content alone is not enough. Here's the #1 mistake people make: they mistake content for complete intentions. The problem is that content alone isn't enough because energy is an essential component of every intention. Great content plus no energy equals an intention that won't manifest anything but frustration. Consider all the content that's available to you on the internet these days. Does that content just whiz around the world by itself? Of course not. Electricity is required to deliver it to you. Without electricity, that content is dead in the water. Suppose I write a new article for this website, and before I can post it, my electricity goes out. Initially I'm frustrated that my content isn't getting delivered to my readers. How do I solve this problem? Is the problem with the content itself? Do I need to improve the quality of the content? To write more content? Or to post it on my wall? Those would be pretty stupid solutions, wouldn't they? But that's exactly what many people do when trying to fix their intentions that don't seem to be working. If you're nitpicking the verbiage of your intentions, you're like a writer nitpicking the wording of a private journal entry that no one else is going to read. It just doesn't matter. What is the energy component of an intention? The energy of an intention isn't the same thing as electricity, but it's a good metaphor for understanding the concept. Don't get hung up on the exact term, it's the concept that's important. Many people refer to energy as the emotional juice you bring to an intention. That's part of it, but strong emotions are the result, not the cause, of that energy. If you want to see some high-energy intentions, look no further than children. Kids are intention manifestation masters. When they really want something, there's no mistaking it. They'll ask for it. They'll jump up and down, and they'll drive everyone crazy expressing their desires. And assuming they don't give up, kids are pretty darn good at manifesting what they want. What kind of energy do you bring to your intentions? Do you speak of them like you're talking about a piece of burnt toast? Or are you so juiced that you're just dripping with enthusiasm? I'm not suggesting you should behave like a kid throwing a sugar tantrum, but if you get more excited about the coming weekend than you do about your intention, well, the weekend will be the only thing you manifest. Emotions measure intentional energy. As I mentioned earlier, strong emotions are actually the result of energy, not the cause of it. The value of emotions is that they let you know how much energy you've managed to pack into your intention. If you're so gushingly enthusiastic about your intention that people keep telling you to shut up about it, you clearly have plenty of energy behind it. So what's the real source of this energy then? The source of this energy is actually the universe itself. The energy is already there. You just need to connect some of it with your intention. Consider how electricity works. The electrons are already sitting there in the wires of your home, and they start flowing when you flip a switch to complete the circuit, thereby creating a current and providing usable electrical power to your appliances. Although the electrons as particles move at a fairly slow pace, the electric field moves at the speed of light, so your appliances turn on right away. Your intentions work much the same way. The energy is already there. You just need to get the current flowing in the right direction. And this has virtually nothing to do with the actual content of your intentions. Electricity doesn't care whether it's powering a computer or a coffee maker, nor does intentional energy care whether you're building a business or a bomb. polarity. So how do you get this energy current flowing? First you need to understand the concept of polarity. Going back to the electricity example. Imagine a battery. It has two terminals which are polar opposites of each other, one positive and one negative. If you hook the battery up to a circuit, electrons will flow in one direction, thereby creating a current. If you flip the battery around and hook it up the other way, you'll reverse the flow of electrons through the wires, thereby creating an identical current in the opposite direction. I'm trying to keep this analogy simple, so if you feel the need to out-nerd me by bringing up things like differential resistance, manifest a life. Now what if you wanted to increase the current flowing through your circuit? You could do that by adding more batteries, right? But in order for this to work, the batteries must be aligned to create a current in the same direction. If you put batteries into a device with some facing the correct way and some facing the wrong way, the device won't work because you'll screw up the current. So what does this have to do with intention manifestation? Well, the energy you apply to your intentions also has polarity, much like a battery. It can flow one way or the other way. You'll know you have a strong intentional current when you experience strong emotions. No emotions means you have no current. Many people screw up their intentional energy flow by trying to use both polarities in the same circuit. You can't do that and expect to get good results with the law of attraction. It just won't work. You must use either one polarity or the other, and you must remain congruent in your usage. So what are the two polarities of intention manifestation, and how do you apply them to build a strong intentional current? I'll cover that in detail in my next article, so stay tuned. Update, here it is. Polarity. In my last article on the #1 mistake people make when using the law of attraction, I stated that every intention has a content component plus an energy component, and both are equally important when it comes to applying the law of attraction. At the end of that article, I asserted that the energy component of every intention has a polarity. Now we're going to explore polarity, which is the key to understanding intentional energy. Do your best to keep an open mind as you read this article. The concepts are what's important here, so try not to get hung up on the particular words I use to describe them. What is polarity? In order to define polarity, we need to build a bit of conceptual scaffolding first, so let's dive in and explore the nature of thought. As a conscious being, you have the ability to create thoughts. If you decide to think of an apple, you can obviously do that. Every thought consists of two primary components, 1, content and 2, energy. I'm going to define these first, and then we'll get to polarity. Thought content. The content of a thought is the raw information it contains. If you think of an apple, the content is your internal representation of that apple. If you form an intention to have $1 million, the content is the request for $1 million. The content portion of a thought contains no emotion itself. Content is what you get when you reduce a thought to something that could be stored in a computer database or typed up as an email. Even if the original thought is highly emotional, the content portion is the emotionless representation of that thought, such as the sentence "I am angry" to represent the real-life emotion of anger. This definition of content is simply an abstraction to help us better understand the energy component. I'm not suggesting that your thoughts actually separate themselves into separate components. What I'm suggesting is that this model will be helpful to you in creating thoughts that have more power to manifest what you desire. Thought energy. Now let's define energy. Energy is the non-content portion of a thought. This concept is very difficult to explain in words because as soon as we reduce it to words, we end up with content, not energy. So my words can never do the concept justice, just as the word joy can never convey the actual experience of joy. Intuitively you already have a grasp of the energy component of your thoughts, so I think the best way to define energy is to allow you to experience it subjectively right now. Here's a simple exercise you can do in about 1 minute to demonstrate thought energy. This will be very familiar to anyone who's studied NLP. Try holding the thought "I am happy" in your mind right now. Just humor me and hold that thought for a few seconds. Notice how you feel when you hold this thought. Now hold that same thought, identical content. But with more energy this time. Do whatever you think is necessary to make the "I am happy" thought more intense in your mind. Smile, change your position, breathe more deeply, stand up, stick your chest out, look up, move around, etc. Hold the thought at that new energy level for a few more seconds. Notice the difference in how this thought feels compared to the first thought. Can you perceive the increased energy even as the pure content of the thought remains unchanged? Now lower the intensity, and bring the energy of the "I am happy" thought back down. Strip the thought of all its energy, and reduce it in your mind to pure content. It is nothing but a boring sentence. Hold the thought as pure content for a few more seconds. Notice how that feels compared to the first two thoughts. Can you sense the energetic difference? Even though the content is the same in all three situations, your subjective experience of these thoughts will be totally different. Objectively speaking, your breathing, physiology, and movement will change to reflect the energy of the thought you're holding. If someone else were doing this exercise in front of you, you would be able to perceive the differences. It isn't difficult to gauge the intensity of someone's thought energy by observing their physiology. This is especially easy to do with children who are less apt to disguise their emotional state. Energy and emotion. Now you might be thinking that energy and emotion are the same thing. They're related, but they're definitely not the same. Emotion is to energy as heat is to fire. The flow of thought energy creates emotion, just as fire produces heat. If you hold a thought with strong energy, you will feel strong emotion. If you hold a thought with weak energy, you will feel little or no emotion. Energy is not something you can create or destroy. It simply exists. It is ever present and always available. What makes you feel strong emotion is not the energy itself, which is ever present, but rather the flow of energy coursing through you. Some self-help gurus suggest you can increase your ability to manifest your desires, or achieve your goals, by injecting more emotion into your thoughts. That advice is misguided. It's like saying you can make a fire burn hotter by turning up the heat in the room. Technically that's true, but it's a highly inefficient strategy, and you'll end up investing more energy than you gain. If you want your fire, intention, to burn hotter, you should add more fuel, energy, and you'll generate more heat, emotion, as a natural consequence. Once you understand energy and begin to play with it, especially after you learn about polarity, you'll find it a lot easier to generate intense emotional states simply by visualizing the energy flow. It isn't necessary to flap your arms like a dork in order to whip yourself into an emotional frenzy. Contrary to popular belief, an intense emotion like passion does not fuel or motivate activity. Passion is not the real source of drive and motivation. Passion itself is a byproduct of high thought energy. The reason you see passion and motivated action together is that they're both outcomes of the flow of thought energy. Without thought energy, there is no passion, no activity, and no manifesting. So the process of generating results works like this: intention, content plus thought energy, passion plus direct action plus passive manifesting, results. In every situation the particular mixture of passion, action, and manifesting will be different, but the ultimate cause of the whole chain of events is the original intention. I view direct action and passive manifesting as basically the same thing because when passion is high, action becomes fun and effortless anyway. Remember that we're talking energy here, not content. You can spend hours holding low energy thoughts with great content, such as by reciting daily affirmations, and you will manifest virtually no passion, no activity, and no results. Similarly, you can hold thoughts with really lame content but high energy, and you will feel a surge of motivation to passionately pursue them and generate results. I'm sure you've had experiences with both of these extremes. What's really fascinating to me is that when I form a powerful intention, one I've loaded with thought energy, other people, especially those who are energetically sensitive, can begin to pick up on it long before the intention physically manifests. For example, a few people have told Erin about dreams they've had about me doing certain things, including specific details that are rather unusual. Those details were part of some very strong intentions I put out, but I haven't told anyone about them, not even Erin. I think that on some level, this thought energy is beginning to resonate with those who will eventually be involved in its manifesting. Even though these are intentions that may take a decade or more to fully manifest in physical form, on an energetic level the creation has already been set in motion. Energy is a practical tool. Depending on your particular belief system, other terms you can use in place of energy are Chi, the Holy Spirit, Prana, Mana, life force, the Tao, morphogenic fields, psychic energy, etc. It doesn't matter what term you use. The concept is all that matters. I'm not asserting a spiritual philosophy here. I'm simply presenting a tool you can use. I view the concept of thought energy much like a mathematical construct. For example, consider the mathematical concept of imaginary numbers, based on taking the square root of 1. Imaginary number space does not exist in a real physical sense, but the concept can still be used to solve interesting problems and generate results with enormously practical applications. Energy flow and skill. As a conscious being, you have the ability to direct the flow of universal energy. In fact, the ability to do this is one of the most fundamental skills of consciousness. I say it's a skill because there are varying degrees of competency. Like any other skill, you will have some level of innate ability in this area, but you can also improve with practice. However, expecting to master this skill overnight is extremely naive. If you're having magical fantasies that all your problems will vanish instantly the first time you try this, I suggest you read What Are the Odds of Becoming a Black Belt? Becoming skillful at directing energy flow takes dedication, practice, and perseverance. If you're looking to the lower as a way to get something for nothing, you'll need to do a bit of growing up first. Your ability to successfully apply the lower depends on your ability to generate energy flow. If you cannot achieve a strong flow, as evidenced by your direct experience of intense emotional states, you will fail miserably and get no results. That isn't the end of the world, but it does mean that you'll spend far more time servicing other people's intentions instead of enjoying the fulfillment of your own. A pattern you will see repeatedly with newcomers to the lower is that they form intentions that are all content and no energy. They tweak the content again and again, mistakenly thinking that better content is the answer, but they never manage to build sufficient intensity on the energy side. When these people talk about their intentions, it's like listening to a volcano. There's no passion, no fire, no energy behind their words. If they actually injected energy into their intentions, they'd be speaking like a volcano going through pond fire. Many people who achieve poor results when trying to apply the law of attraction simply lack skill in creating and sustaining energy flow. Please try to resist the temptation to conclude that the law doesn't work. That's like an American Idol reject complaining that sound waves don't work because they didn't pass their audition. The problem may simply be that you downright suck. But it's okay to suck. Remember this line from The Matrix. Everyone falls the first time. You just need to build your skill level. If you really can't suppress the urge, go ahead and throw a poor me tantrum in the hallway on the way out, but it's only going to make you look stupid in the eyes of those who know what they're doing, and it won't bring your intentions any closer to manifesting. On the bright side, your parting shot may be a source of entertainment for others, so just pretend we're all laughing with you. In all fairness to those who are struggling with the lower and making these newbie mistakes, it isn't really your fault. There's a tremendous amount of marketing hype surrounding the lower these days that vastly oversimplifies its true complexities and leaves people thinking they can expect instant results overnight. The something-for-nothing crowd is going to be disappointed, as they always are, but those who look beneath the surface and probe its depths will find something wonderful. Just do your best to ignore the marketing hype without feeling a need to attack or defend it. You can continue to pursue the lower without spending a dime if the hype onslaught makes you nauseous. Polarity. Now we're finally ready to explore the concept of polarity. This is a very key concept to understanding how to create high-energy intentions. Thoughts have content and energy, and polarity is a property of the energy component. When we consider the energy of a thought, we're really talking about the energy flow. But in order to have a flow, we need a direction. What are the possible directions of energy flow? With respect to your consciousness, there are only two directions that make sense: into your consciousness or out from your consciousness. Energy can flow towards you, or it can flow away from you. It's like you're a vacuum cleaner that has two airflow settings, suck and blow. Boy, you have a dirty mind, but let's stick with the concept of energy flow from now, okay? The polarity of the energy flow is simply its direction. The inflowing energy has one polarity, and the outflowing energy has the opposite polarity. So here are the two basic ways energy can flow through your consciousness. Universe, you direct energy from your consciousness out to the universe. Universe, you draw energy from the universe into your consciousness. #1 is like breathing out, and #2 is like breathing in, except we're talking energy instead of air. I'm not saying this is any kind of physical energy flowing through your physical body. It's best to treat this as a conceptual tool. If you want to argue that there's no such thing as this form of energy, I'll simply agree with you, just as I'll agree there's no such thing as imaginary numbers. However, I'll continue using both as tools. Choosing polarity. The polarity of every thought is either outward or inward, but never both. Actually, a thought could be totally neutral as well, which would mean that it has content but no energy, and since it has no energy, it can't be polarized. An example would be imagining a pencil or holding some other emotionless idea in your mind that you don't connect with an energy flow. Now here's the rub. These two different energy polarities are incompatible with each other. When you have both polarities present at the same time and in the same magnitude, they cancel each other. The process works like vector addition. If you add two opposing vectors of equal magnitude, you end up with a zero vector. If one vector is slightly longer than the other, you'll have some energy left over, but it will be significantly less than the total energy you've invested. Imagine adding 10 units of inflowing energy with 8 units of outflowing energy. You've invested 18 units total, but you'll only end up with a net 2 units of inflowing energy because 8 units of energy on each side will simply cancel out. In effect, you are working against yourself. Not understanding polarity is a source of tremendous frustration when applying the lower, since it's entirely possible to inject lots of energy into your intentions but get little or no results if you're mixing both polarities together. Unfortunately, it's very easy to do this by default. If you want to manifest a particular desire, you'll achieve the best results by picking a single polarity and using it consistently. Polarizing your intentions. Based on the polarity concept, there are a couple things we can say about intentions. An intention without a strong polarity is very weak and has little power to manifest. An intention with a strong polarity is very strong and has significant power to manifest. To polarize an intention, you must energize it with directional energy. The energy must either flow outward or inward, but not both. Understand that with respect to this model, everything is energy. So although the content of your intentions may seem to have nothing to do with energy, ultimately you can think of your intentions in terms of some kind of flow, and that flow is either coming into you or going out of you. An intention that doesn't align with one of these natural flows will have virtually no power to manifest. Here are some examples of intentions that align well with outflow: from your consciousness out to the universe. Write a book, build a business, compose a song, draw a picture, throw a party, give a speech, start a blog. And here are some examples of intentions that align well with inflow: from the universe into your consciousness. Get a new car, attract a new relationship, receive a certain sum of money, get a new job, achieve a certain reputation, win a contest. Technically these lists have no energy or polarity, because as plain text they reduce intentions to mere content, but I think you'll see there's a logical directional choice for the flow of energy for each example. Outward flowing energy involves creation and giving. Inward flowing energy involves acquiring and receiving. Although these two energies may seem similar, they're actually very distinct creatures. It's entirely possible to take the same content and apply either energetic polarity to it. For example, consider the intention of eating a nice dinner. You can imbue this intention with outflowing energy by imagining it as a creative endeavor, focusing on the experience of preparing an interesting meal, concocting an original recipe, laying out the table, and perhaps sharing the food with others. You are adding to the substance of the universe. On the other hand, you can also fill this intention with inflowing energy by focusing on appeasing your appetite, enjoying the taste and texture of the food being served, and feeling satiated at the end of the meal. In this case you are receiving from the universe. Your dinner will turn out best if you pick one polarity or the other and stick with it. If you've never tried doing this consciously, I highly encourage you to do so. To form a strong intention, think of that intention as either an inflow or an outflow of energy. Are you primarily creating or acquiring? It's important to be crystal clear about which polarity you're going to use. If you can't clarify your intention in terms of the inflow or outflow of energy, you'll end up with a very weak intention that isn't likely to manifest. When you form a true intention, either you're giving something to the universe, or you're getting something from it. While you may in fact experience both results as your intention manifests, giving leads to getting and vice versa, what's important here is that you focus your intentional energy on either one direction or the other, but not both. Your attention must be concentrated either on sending energy out or on drawing energy in. There is no right or wrong choice of polarity except not to choose one. If you imbue your intentions with energy of mixed polarity, you're only wasting your efforts. The two energies will simply neutralize each other. Polarized emotional feedback. These concepts may be easier to understand if you look at them from another angle: the emotional output of polarized energy. If you apply highly polarized energy to your intentions, you will experience a strong surge of emotion. But that emotional surge will be totally different depending on your choice of polarity. If you use the polarity of creation and giving, outflow, you will experience a surge of related emotions such as love, joy, and inspiration. If you use the polarity of acquisition and receiving, inflow, you will experience a surge of related emotions such as greed, lust, and power. These polarized emotional states are incompatible with each other, which is what we'd expect as a result of the underlying energies being incompatible. However, a peak emotional state on either side can be labeled as a form of passion. On either side you will experience intense, highly motivating emotional states. Based on the emotional consequences, your social conditioning, and your personality, you may have a bias towards one polarity or the other. That's a whole other article. But as far as the universe is concerned, these polarities are equally acceptable. To say that one is better than the other is to say that breathing in is better than breathing out. If you experience no surge of emotion when focusing on your intentions, suffice it to say that either you aren't putting enough energy into them, or you're injecting them with energy of mixed polarity. As an example, to write this article I am using the polarity of outflow. My intentional energy is focused on writing as an act of love, connection, creation, giving, and contribution. I am not thinking about what this article will do for me personally, what kind of feedback it will generate, how it will rank in search engines, or how much money I make from ad clicks, since those are all energetic signatures of the polarity of inflow. Consequently, this act of writing is an extremely enjoyable experience for me. The creative ideas flow easily and effortlessly, and emotionally I feel blissful and very fulfilled. The exact words you use to phrase an intention are not that important unless they help you polarize one way or the other. You do not even need to put your intentions into words, you can hold them as pure thoughts, images, or sounds if you prefer. Imagine typing an email to someone. The exact words aren't that important as long as you get your basic point across. But the message isn't going anywhere until you click send. Your life experience has probably shown you that when you hold an intention with strong emotions, it's very likely to manifest. For one, you'll be extremely motivated to take action, but it may also seem like the universe is bending over backwards to help you get there. In those situations you were using polarized energy, intensely focusing on either the outward flow of creative expression, giving, or the inward flow of acquisition, receiving. Instead of mixing those two polarities together, you primarily focused on one side or the other. It was either I want to give or I want to get. And you felt an intense emotional surge as a natural consequence of using polarized energy correctly. I have much more to write on the topic of polarization, so please stay tuned. In the meantime, I'd like to challenge you to simply observe energetic polarities flowing through your daily life. The only way you'll truly understand the significance of polarity is by experiencing it for yourself. Whenever you observe yourself or someone else in an emotional state, stop and take notice of the energetic flow that's present. What is its polarity? Is the focus on inflow or outflow? Why some people are better manifestors than others? Last month when I was in Bermuda, I talked for a few hours with a talented musician. Since I was curious, I asked him, why is it that some people can sing so well, while other people sing very poorly? Is it just a difference in natural inborn talent? He said that he felt just about everyone could train to be a decent singer, but the main challenge was that people don't hear themselves the way other people hear them, so their pitch is off. They hear one pitch in their heads, but what they're actually singing, and what other people hear, doesn't align with what they think they're singing. It immediately struck me that this is a great analogy for why some people struggle so much when trying to apply the law of attraction. The vibration they believe they're putting out doesn't match what they're actually putting out. What they perceive in their heads isn't what other people perceive coming from them. For example, I occasionally meet people who are struggling financially, and they tell me about their efforts to apply the lower. They tell me about how they shifted their vibration, thoughts, feelings, actions, to align with financial abundance, but they're still manifesting scarcity. Some of them are on the verge of concluding that the law doesn't really work. However, from my perspective, it only takes a few minutes of conversation to see that such people are still broadcasting scarcity through every pore. How can they not see it? How can they kid themselves into thinking they have a mindset of abundance when it's so obvious to me they're still stuck in a scarcity mentality? Their mannerisms and choice of words always betray their true vibration. It's the same with singing, isn't it? The way you sound to others and the way you sound to yourself may not match. So which one is the true vibration you're putting out? When it comes to singing, the truth is represented by the sound waves emanating from your mouth. It doesn't matter what you're hearing in your head. Many people don't realize that this is how the lower works as well. Your true vibration isn't what you're thinking or feeling in your head. Your true vibration is what you're broadcasting out to the universe. Discovering and correcting vibrational discordance. Your thoughts and feelings are not equal to your vibration. They're merely effects of your vibration, but they get filtered through your beliefs. If your beliefs aren't aligned with truth, then your inner perception of your vibration will be a distortion of your true vibration, so you won't perceive yourself accurately. You may think you're resonating with a certain energetic frequency like abundance, vitality, or love, when the truth is quite different. How can you become aware of your true vibration if you can't blindly trust what you're thinking and feeling? The solution is that you need to create a feedback loop, whereby you can observe yourself objectively to get a better sense of what you're actually putting out. This will help you make adjustments to correct inaccuracies in your internal self-image. I'm sure you'll agree that it's important for singers to record themselves singing and to listen to the playback. This helps them hear what's really coming out of their mouths. If they're singing off-key, they will hear it in the recording, and then they can make adjustments. A talented deaf singer is an anomaly because something other than direct audio feedback must be used for training. You can use a similar method to discover and correct your own vibrational misalignments. Record yourself, either with audio or video. Video is best because it gives you more information. Record yourself talking about your finances. Record a conversation with your significant other. Record yourself interacting socially with friends and family. Record yourself giving a speech. Record yourself working at your desk. Then watch the playback. I guarantee that if you've never done this before, you will be surprised. It's a very eye-opening experience. If you record video, watch the playback once with video and no sound. Then listen to the audio only without looking at the video. You will pick up different insights. With no sound you can observe your body language. With no video you can pay more attention to your voice tone. This will help you see if you're being congruent on all channels or if you're sending mixed messages. For example, are you speaking confidently while your body language broadcasts insecurity? That would indicate that your true vibration is mixed as well, and that will surely affect your results. Another thing you can do is invite someone else to observe you. This may take some courage, but it's a great way to discover new truths. It's especially helpful to get feedback from people who are already emanating the type of vibration you would like to integrate. Ask someone who's already enjoying financial abundance to listen to you talk about your finances for a few minutes. Ask someone who has a loving relationship to watch you interact socially with others. Ask someone who's very healthy and fit to watch you eat and prepare a meal, do your exercise routine, and listen to you talk about your health habits. Then ask those people to give you brutally honest feedback. We all have blind spots, myself included. In order to become aware of those blind spots, we need to take a step back and observe what's really coming out of us. What are the real frequencies we're broadcasting, and how do they compare with what we think we're broadcasting? Making adjustments once you have a chance to observe yourself. Make some changes based on your new distinctions. Make the gross adjustments first, and then work on the finer adjustments. In many cases objective self-observation is the key limiting step. The challenge is to become aware of your shortcomings and to see yourself accurately. Once you've done that, correcting those actions can usually be achieved via basic trial and error. Make changes, record yourself again, and notice how it looks. Keep cycling through this feedback loop until you can observe that you have it right. Depending on the nature of your challenge, it may take some time to get where you want to go, but at least it's doable. When I did a lot of computer programming, there was a built-in feedback loop. I always had the opportunity to observe the output from the computer code I'd written, so I could identify bugs and make adjustments many times per day. But in some areas of life, such as in our human relationships, the natural feedback loop plays out much more slowly. However, you can still gain a lot of information by paying attention to your immediate results and your objectively observable momentum. If you claim to be resonating with financial abundance, but your present reality is that you're sinking into debt and unpaid bills are piling up, something isn't right. When you see that your results are out of alignment with your intentions, those are the best places to start investigating. Do your best not to blame the law of attraction for your personal failings. That cannot possibly help. If you aren't getting the results you intend, you need look no further than your lack of vibrational alignment. A lack of results means that you haven't hit the right frequency to manifest your intentions yet. You're still singing off key. You may think you're hitting the right notes, but if you haven't observed your own output via objective means like recording devices and consultations with others who are already experts at those frequencies, how can you really know what frequencies you're actually broadcasting? You can't know. If you want to get better at applying the lower, you can't simply go scouring through your thoughts and feelings, hoping to get everything perfect on the inside. You can't create a good feedback loop entirely in your mind. It's too easy to get lost in a tangled web of belief filters. You need to pull back, don your observer cap, and see yourself from the outside looking in. Get out of your head and your ego, and diagnose the problem holistically. Only then will you be able to apply a holistic solution that actually works. The #1 mistake people make when using the law of attraction. Whenever you form an intention, that intention has two primary components. The first component is the content of the intention. The content is the information part of your desire. It's whatever you decide you want, such as a new career, a better relationship, or an extra $10,000. That part is pretty straightforward. The second component of an intention is the energy you bring to the intention. Some people describe this as a feeling, like passion or gratitude, but the feeling is actually the result of the energy, not the energy itself. However, you know there is energy in your intention when you connect strong feelings to it. I'll explain the energy component in more detail in a moment, but first let's address failure experiences with the law of attraction. I often hear people complain that they've dutifully and correctly applied the law of attraction, but their intentions just aren't manifesting. Some of the more stubborn believers will continue beating their heads against the wall, using the same ineffective approach even though it generates no results week after week. Please don't do that to yourself. Others give up within a matter of hours when their cappuccino grande fails to manifest, concluding that the whole law of attraction concept is bogus. Please don't do that to yourself either. I've previously written an article called "Why Do Intentions Take So Long to Manifest?", which covers some common problems people experience when trying, unsuccessfully, to apply the law of attraction. Now I want to address the most common mistake of all. Content alone is not enough. Here's the #1 mistake people make: they mistake content for complete intentions. The problem is that content alone isn't enough because energy is an essential component of every intention. Great content plus no energy equals an intention that won't manifest anything but frustration. Consider all the content that's available to you on the internet these days. Does that content just whiz around the world by itself? Of course not. Electricity is required to deliver it to you. Without electricity, that content is dead in the water. Suppose I write a new article for this website, and before I can post it, my electricity goes out. Initially I'm frustrated that my content isn't getting delivered to my readers. How do I solve this problem? Is the problem with the content itself? Do I need to improve the quality of the content? To write more content? Or to post it on my wall? Those would be pretty stupid solutions, wouldn't they? But that's exactly what many people do when trying to fix their intentions that don't seem to be working. If you're nitpicking the verbiage of your intentions, you're like a writer nitpicking the wording of a private journal entry that no one else is going to read. It just doesn't matter. What is the energy component of an intention? The energy of an intention isn't the same thing as electricity, but it's a good metaphor for understanding the concept. Don't get hung up on the exact term, it's the concept that's important. Many people refer to energy as the emotional juice you bring to an intention. That's part of it, but strong emotions are the result, not the cause, of that energy. If you want to see some high-energy intentions, look no further than children. Kids are intention manifestation masters. When they really want something, there's no mistaking it. They'll ask for it, they'll jump up and down, and they'll drive everyone crazy expressing their desires. And assuming they don't give up, kids are pretty darn good at manifesting what they want. What kind of energy do you bring to your intentions? Do you speak of them like you're talking about a piece of burnt toast? Or are you so juiced that you're just dripping with enthusiasm? I'm not suggesting you should behave like a kid throwing a sugar tantrum, but if you get more excited about the coming weekend than you do about your intention, well, the weekend will be the only thing you manifest. Emotions measure intentional energy. As I mentioned earlier, strong emotions are actually the result of energy, not the cause of it. The value of emotions is that they let you know how much energy you've managed to pack into your intention. If you're so gushingly enthusiastic about your intention that people keep telling you to shut up about it, you clearly have plenty of energy behind it. So what's the real source of this energy then? The source of this energy is actually the universe itself. The energy is already there. You just need to connect some of it with your intention. Consider how electricity works. The electrons are already sitting there in the wires of your home, and they start flowing when you flip a switch to complete the circuit, thereby creating a current and providing usable electrical power to your appliances. Although the electrons as particles move at a fairly slow pace, the electric field moves at the speed of light, so your appliances turn on right away. Your intentions work much the same way. The energy is already there. You just need to get the current flowing in the right direction. And this has virtually nothing to do with the actual content of your intentions. Electricity doesn't care whether it's powering a computer or a coffee maker, nor does intentional energy care whether you're building a business or a bomb. Polarity. So how do you get this energy current flowing? First you need to understand the concept of polarity. Going back to the electricity example. Imagine a battery. It has two terminals which are polar opposites of each other, one positive and one negative. If you hook the battery up to a circuit, electrons will flow in one direction, thereby creating a current. If you flip the battery around and hook it up the other way, you'll reverse the flow of electrons through the wires, thereby creating an identical current in the opposite direction. I'm trying to keep this analogy simple, so if you feel the need to out-nerd me by bringing up things like differential resistance, manifest a life. Now what if you wanted to increase the current flowing through your circuit? You could do that by adding more batteries, right? But in order for this to work, the batteries must be aligned to create a current in the same direction. If you put batteries into a device with some facing the correct way and some facing the wrong way, the device won't work because you'll screw up the current. So what does this have to do with intention manifestation? Well, the energy you apply to your intentions also has polarity, much like a battery. It can flow one way or the other way. You'll know you have a strong intentional current when you experience strong emotions. No emotions means you have no current. Many people screw up their intentional energy flow by trying to use both polarities in the same circuit. You can't do that and expect to get good results with the law of attraction. It just won't work. You must use either one polarity or the other, and you must remain congruent in your usage. So what are the two polarities of intention manifestation? And how do you apply them to build a strong intentional current? I'll cover that in detail in my next article, so stay tuned. Update, here it is. Polarity. Do your beliefs reflect reality or create it? Does it really make sense to convince yourself to believe something that may or may not be true? Where do you draw the line? What defines truth? Is truth an external quality, completely independent of the observer? If reality is completely independent of you, external and objective, then you can say that truth is entirely outside yourself. Truth would then be independently measurable and verifiable. This means that your beliefs will have no effect on reality itself. Whether you believe the world is peaceful or violent, your thoughts will have no impact on the level of peace in the world. But if reality is at least partially subjective, then you cannot separate external truth from your own thoughts. Your thoughts would be affecting external reality. This means that you cannot merely look to external reality for truth because your thoughts are creating it. If you believe the world is peaceful or violent, your own thoughts contribute to shaping the world in accordance with your beliefs. So if reality is 100% independent of our thoughts, then it makes sense to study external reality to figure out what to believe. Seeing is believing. The best we can do is to perceive external reality as accurately as possible, so we can make the best possible decisions. But if reality is even partially created by our thoughts, then we cannot merely look to external reality as an impartial observer because our thoughts will be creating things at the same time we're trying to observe. There can be no passive observation in this case. Our own beliefs will be reshaping reality. Believing is seeing. If this is how reality works, then we need to assume great care in choosing our thoughts responsibly because they are affecting the world itself. So which type of reality do we actually live in? Many people behave as if we live in the purely objective reality. However, it's easy to see that this answer is definitely wrong, but only when you're on the outside looking in. If you believe in a purely objective reality, you've trapped yourself in your own thought bubble, where your beliefs are creating a higher degree of objectivity than inherently exists. By dropping this belief, you'll be more capable of taking advantage of the creative power of your thoughts. In order to use your thoughts to create, you must first believe it's at least conceivably possible to do so. There are several reasons why this is so. First, if quantum theory is to be believed, then it's clear that our observations influence reality. An unobserved quantum system can be expressed only probabilistically, but an observed one undergoes quantum collapse and manifests a single, measurable outcome. And this effect can even be linked with macroscopic events, such as in the case of Schrodinger's cat experiment. However, you don't need to dive into quantum physics to see how your thoughts affect reality. At the very least, it should be obvious that you're capable of interacting with the world through direct action. If you make a decision to do something and then do it, your thoughts are affecting reality through your actions. Secondly, your thoughts can affect reality through indirect action, whereby your beliefs make you a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you go to work each day, you're a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's no law of the universe that says you have to do so. It's your beliefs that get you going to work each day. And when you do that, you have an impact on the world, again through your actions. You perform certain work, and you neglect to perform different work. Your beliefs about reality will be reflected through your actions, often in extremely subtle ways. I haven't had a job since the early 90s because I believe I don't need one and that I wouldn't ever want one. That shapes my experience of reality as well as impacting everyone who comes into contact with me. Thirdly, there may be a pathway that allows for your thoughts to impact reality while bypassing direct action, such as through superconscious means. For example, do your thoughts about wanting to start your own business somehow mobilize the universe to bring you the resources you need through the experience of synchronicities? Many people believe this to be the case. This is something I've been studying actively lately, trying to understand to what degree I can change reality just by intending it to change. But whether you believe in superconscious effects or not, you should at least be able to accept that your thoughts can change reality through direct, conscious, or indirect, subconscious, action. You can act upon the world. You can move things around, talk to people, make changes, etc. Of course, if you harbor the belief that your actions will be ineffective, then you create yourself as a powerless entity. But if you were to change your beliefs about that, you could significantly change the world. Your thoughts are not merely passive observations. They have a creative component to them. And that component, however small it may be, means that you are creating whenever you think. You're either directly making decisions, or you're programming your subconscious, or you're putting out superconscious intentions that will eventually manifest in some way. This is a key point. Understand that beliefs are decisions. They are choices. When you hold a belief, you aren't merely observing reality, you're actively creating it. So if you adopt the belief that you will lose weight, understand that what you're doing is choosing to lose weight. You're setting up the prophecy you wish to fulfill. If your thoughts could not impact reality, then this would be foolish. But if your thoughts can and do impact reality, then it's just common sense to choose the beliefs that are aligned with what you wish to create. So if you're overweight and believe you cannot lose weight, you're actually choosing to be fat. And underlying that belief may be a whole web of other disempowering beliefs. You may need to unravel quite a few of these in order to feel comfortable creating fitness for yourself. The belief that reality is purely objective and that your thoughts cannot influence it is nothing but a self-fulfilling prophecy, whereby you abuse the power of thought to make yourself powerless. And it is only fear that causes you to do this, fear that if you were to fully embrace the creative power of your thoughts, you wouldn't be able to handle it and would be overwhelmed with a feeling of responsibility. But that fear is also a belief, one which you're equally free to drop because it doesn't serve you. You have the power to let it go whenever you're ready. I hold the belief that my thoughts are capable of having a significant impact on reality, and I feel a strong sense of responsibility for what I am creating with my thinking. It took a long time, but I feel I've successfully aligned my dominant thoughts with what I believe is the greatest good of all, for all of us to grow more conscious and aware. My whole life is aligned with that purpose. But ultimately it's a choice. This is how I choose to live. I think that anyone who's been following my progress for the past year can see how my thoughts and beliefs are helping to reshape reality. Because I believe I can have an impact, I'm able to do so. Like everyone else, I'm a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have the privilege of reaching out to a lot of people every time I sit down to write. In October this site received 975,000 page views. But this simply occurred as a natural consequence of my chosen beliefs. I didn't look to external reality to decide whether I could do this or not. I didn't waste time looking outside myself to figure out how successful I could be. I simply decided to make it so, knowing that my beliefs would find a way to manifest. On the other hand, I could just as easily have settled for beliefs that would have me sitting around and doing nothing. Now fast forward 10 or 20 years. It shouldn't be hard to predict the effect my beliefs will have in the long run. It will mean eventually influencing millions of people on a regular basis. And if the effect is a strong and positive one, then it can have a significant impact on the future direction of life on Earth. The individual effects may be small, but the cumulative effect of getting more people to consciously choose a purpose for their lives could be huge. Now if one person can have such an impact simply by choosing to believe it's possible to do so, then what could 10 or 100 or 1,000 people accomplish if they consciously chose to harbor thoughts which serve the greatest good of all? So the problem with looking purely outside yourself to decide what to believe is that you make yourself powerless by doing so. This approach would only make sense if you were a passive observer viewing an independent system. But that's not the reality you're living in. You aren't a passive observer. You're a part of what you're observing. Right now you might be perceiving yourself as a small and insignificant part of the whole, but you can choose to play a bigger and more impactful role if you want to. Is it true that with greater power comes greater responsibility? No. Your responsibility remains the same, regardless of how much power you have. You can only give up power, never responsibility. And the first way you give up power is to mistakenly believe you do not possess the power which you already do. My reality or yours? If your belief system is rooted in the concept of an objective reality which we all share, then how could you disprove the existence of other realities where each of us lives in our own little world? From your perspective, it would be a worthy endeavor to prove that yours is the one true reality. From the perspective that we each live in a reality created by our own thoughts and beliefs, however, attempting such a proof would be pointless because your belief system requires no proof. Your beliefs are self-proving. You'd only be proving what you're creating, like pointing to the cake you baked as proof that cake is real. You don't need to prove what you're creating. Such a belief system will shape your actions by compelling you to either convince non-subscribers to buy into your paradigm, to label them as wrong, or to kick them out of your reality altogether. So if you were to ask me to step into your objective reality and buy into your belief system, I could do it, but it would be unnecessarily limiting and pointless. Let's say I'm stepping from a 3D reality onto a plane. When I do that, you present the argument that spheres don't exist, only circles do. I say, well, within this reality, you're right. But there exist other realities where spheres do exist, but you have to believe in 3D to see them. If you staunchly believe that your 2D world is objective reality, then you will never see spheres. I can step back out into my 3D world, and I can show you all the spheres my world has to offer, but you'll only see their 2D projections, just more circles. There is no way I can convince you otherwise. And if I ask you to step outside your belief system and take a look around at what lies outside it, you can't do it because your current beliefs include the belief that such a thing is impossible. So I see you as trapped and living in a cage created by your own thoughts, and you see me as mistaken, crazy, and living inconsistently with your objective reality. Sort of amusing in its own way. I used to subscribe to the belief in objective reality. I don't anymore because I can see just to what a huge degree my thoughts create the reality in which I live. One day I started thinking, I wonder if such a thing as spheres exist. I conditioned myself to believe in the possibility of spheres even before seeing them. Yes, this is still just a metaphor. I thought that if I was wrong, reality would slap me back. But if my thoughts were at least partially creating my reality, maybe I'd see them. I didn't get slapped back. The spheres appeared. Insert voice of Keanu Reeves saying, whoa, then I did this some more, and whatever I started believing was newly possible not only became possible but actually started to manifest, even stuff I thought was previously impossible. But can I prove any of this to someone who subscribes to a belief in objective reality? No. If I dip a sphere into your world to show it to you as proof, you will only see proof of a circle. I cannot show you the color blue when you see the world through a red lens. The closest I can get is magenta, which for you will not be sufficient to prove the existence of red. You don't have to recreate the same reality you lived in yesterday. I know you think you do, but you don't. You have more power than you think you do. The problem is that you're directing your thoughts and beliefs in such a way that you're using your power for the purpose of self-limitation. You believe your thoughts are based on a reality which is independent of your thinking, but that too is a belief, one which you have the option of discarding. The first step is to begin to recognize the feedback loop between what happens in your mind and what happens out there. If you are a pessimist and your life seems to be full of pain, consider for a moment that instead of external events creating your pain, it's just the opposite. Your pain is creating painful events. Your belief that life is tough creates toughness in your reality. And you will filter all the joyful, spherical people in your life down to painful circles. You project your own potential joy to a point far outside yourself instead of inviting it into your daily existence. You see this as your reaction to events outside your control, unaware that you have within you the power to choose something different. The second step is to begin to take conscious control over your beliefs and use them to start playing with your reality. Change something in your mind, and see how it manifests in your external world, even without your direct action. One of the best places to start is within the area of synchronicity. that is strange coincidences that go way beyond their likely probabilities. Intend and expect a surge of synchronicity in your life this week to show you evidence that your thoughts are creating your reality. Then just go about your normal routine and see what happens. If you expect this experiment to fail, it will. But if you can open your mind to the possibility that this harmless experiment might work, I think you'll see some interesting results. To the degree you hold on to your belief in an objective reality, you'll still be able to explain these events as mere coincidences or random happenings, but it may serve to loosen your grip on the cage buzz and lead you to become curious enough to conduct bigger thought experiments down the road. What if your thoughts are indeed creating your reality? Can you not explain everything that has already happened to you through this paradigm? Does your job make you stressed, or does your stress make your job? Does your relationship make you happy, or does your happiness make your relationship? Does this blog entry you're reading make you think about these concepts, or was there something already within your consciousness that made this text appear in your reality as the manifestation of your own thoughts? You don't need a reason to believe in something which doesn't yet exist in your reality. Your thoughts can do more than just reflect your reality, they can participate actively in its creation. Belief is an act of measurement only to the degree you think it to be so. But by your conscious choice, it can also become an act of creation and manifestation. If you disagree with the above, you don't need to disprove it. You are free to simply create its falsehood for you and to continue living in the reality where such things are false. And if you agree with the above, then most likely it's because you already exist within a reality where such things are becoming possible, or are already manifesting, for you. Why do intentions take so long to manifest? When you hold an intention to create something new in your life, such as a career change, a new relationship, or better health, at first you may see no results at all. But as you continue to hold the intention, eventually it does begin to manifest, sometimes almost miraculously. Synchronicities occur whereby new people and circumstances come into your life to make your intention first possible, then probable, and finally real. But sometimes this process doesn't seem to work. You hold an intention and get no measurable results. Other times the process works so slowly that you can't be sure it's having any effect. Why do intentions take so long to manifest, or not at all? Here are some common issues that can delay or derail your efforts at manifesting. 1. You fail to hold the intention. Think of intentions like electromagnetic waves that flow out into the universe, as if you're transmitting a radio signal. The universe receives your thoughts and reflects them back to you via the physical universe. The more thought and emotion you put into your intention, the stronger the wave you're sending out, and the stronger will be the bounce-back reflection. Failing to hold an intention means you don't put enough energy behind it. The reflection, that is the manifestation, may be so weak you can't even detect it. Perhaps the one reason people fail to hold an intention is a lack of persistence. Physical matter is really just energy, but it's a very dense form of energy. It takes time for our thoughts to manifest here in the physical realm. On other planes of existence, such as in your dreams, matter is much less dense, so your thoughts can manifest far more quickly. In the astral realms your thoughts can manifest instantly. But in the physical universe, reality is more solid, yet it's still powered by intention manifestation. It just takes more energy to get things moving, so initially it may seem like they aren't moving at all. It isn't unusual to hold an intention religiously for a week or longer and see no apparent results. Then suddenly the floodgates open, and the manifestation comes pouring through. If you put enough energy into your intentions, they may continue working behind the scenes even if you forget about them. Yesterday I found an old list of my intentions from 2003. I'd held these intentions for several weeks straight, then put them aside and forgot about them. To my delight I found that about 70% of those intentions had already manifested. I was amazed because I remember these intentions were a big stretch for me at the time I set them. One intention on that list was to create a massive personal development website with hundreds of articles. Voila! Another intention was to move to Las Vegas. I'm here. And another was to build a network of great local friends. I have amazing friends. And still another intention was to create abundant freedom in my life. After finishing this article, I'm off to play 24 holes of disc golf at Sunset Park with a friend. Not a bad way to spend a Monday morning. Another 20% of those intentions are currently in the process of manifesting. They've moved from possible but unlikely in 2003 to probable in 2006. And the final 10% were intentions I dropped because I no longer wanted them. Reviewing this list really blew me away. If you want your intentions to manifest more readily, I suggest developing the daily habit of holding your intentions using the 30-day trial method. Currently I practice holding my intentions at least twice a day, usually during meditation. Whenever you find yourself waiting somewhere with nothing to do, mentally focus your thoughts on what you want to create in your life. Imagine your greatest desires becoming real. 2. You put no energy behind the intention. When it comes to intentions, emotion equals energy. If you aren't really passionate about an intention, it's like turning on a flashlight with no batteries. Don't pick intentions just because you feel like you should want them or because everyone else seems to value them. Be honest with yourself about what you really want. The most powerful intentions are those that will help you manifest joy. 3. You hold a fuzzy intention. The best intentions are clear and focused. Be specific. If you want money, specify the exact amount, or join the $1 million experiment. General intentions have very little power. Make your intentions like lasers instead of candle flames, and you'll see them manifest much more quickly. 4. You inadvertently cancel the intention. Every thought is an intention. One of the greatest challenges with intention manifestation is that you must drop all thoughts that conflict with your desired intention. You cannot hold thoughts like, I hate being depressed, while intending to be happy. I hate being depressed is an intention to remain depressed. Virtually every day I get emails from people who write things like, I'm so depressed, and I hate it. Of course they're depressed, they just intended it. With emotion. If you want to use intention manifestation successfully, you must stop acknowledging what you don't want. To acknowledge what you don't want is to intend it, which means you will simply perpetuate its ongoing manifestation. I'm not suggesting that you live in denial, quite the opposite in fact. Remove your intention from what you don't want, and shift it over to what you do want. You should be more concerned with living in denial of your dreams. Depressed people live in denial of joy. Broke people live in denial of abundance. People in unhappy relationships live in denial of love. Acknowledge the reality you want to create more than the one you wish to leave behind. Imagine driving a car. If you look where you've been, in the rear view mirror, you'll crash. If you look where you already are, straight down at the road, you'll be stuck there. To drive successfully you must look where you want to go. Looking at the road ahead doesn't mean you're in denial of where you are. You can still see where you are via your peripheral vision. Live your life the same way. If you like where you are right now, get out and look around all you want. Enjoy it. But if you find yourself in a bad neighborhood you'd prefer to pass through quickly, such as depression, then just observe it peripherally while staying focused on the road ahead. Don't set up camp in a place you don't want to be. 5. Your intention conflicts with your beliefs. Imagine shining a flashlight at the sun. No effect, right? You're firing an intention into an overpowering field of pre-existing beliefs. This would be like holding the intention to become a billionaire when your thoughts are overloaded with limiting beliefs about why that would be impossible for you. If you try to hold an intention that conflicts with your dominant beliefs, that intention will simply fizzle and die. Every night in Las Vegas, The Luxor Hotel shines an intense beam of light up into the starry sky. This beam is visible from anywhere in the city, and reportedly even from space. We locals even use it as a navigational beacon. If you put out strong intentions where you don't have many conflicting beliefs, those intentions will tend to manifest rapidly. This is the part of your life where you have the greatest control. You're going with the flow. Even though you may not be able to tackle your dominant beliefs head-on, you can still work around the edges of them. This is where I tend to get my best results. Set intentions which are just a little beyond your comfort zone but which will make a real difference in your life when they manifest. When applying intention manifestation, be patient with yourself. When you slip, don't fall. If you catch yourself succumbing to mental laziness, fuzziness, or negative thinking, simply turn your attention back to what you want. With practice you'll build mental discipline, and you'll find it easier to stay focused on your desires without so much internal resistance. And then you'll find your intentions manifesting much more smoothly and effortlessly. How to visualize your new reality. This is a follow-up to my last video post on creating abundance. In this article I'll share more detail on how to visualize your new reality so that you become a vibrational match for it. This is an area where people make some critical mistakes when trying to manifest their desires. Slide into your new reality. Did you ever see the TV show Sliders? In that show a group of 4 people would slide through a portal between dimensions, spending each episode in an alternate version of Earth. For example, they might enter a reality where the Nazis won WI. Or in another reality one of them might be a famous performer. Another TV show that can give you the right idea is Quantum Leap. In that show a man spent each episode in someone else's body in an alternative time and place. Imagine you're a slider or a quantum leaper, and you just slid through a portal into your new desired reality, into that new you as well. You're already living it. The whole reality already exists in some alternate dimension, and you're now experiencing it as real. Put yourself in the shoes of that new person. Witness through his/her eyes how he goes through a typical day. Imagine that you're in an episode of Sliders or Quantum Leap. What time do you get up in the morning? Who's sleeping next to you? Where are you? How do you feel? What do you eat for breakfast? What do you do in the morning, afternoon, and evening? You must imagine yourself as already being there. You want to reach the point where it feels natural and normal to be there. After all, this is your reality, isn't it? So of course it will feel normal in a way. You're already used to it. Initially the sliders/leapers were freaked out when they entered the new reality. It took them a while to figure it out and understand it. Eventually they got used to it and were able to get things done within that reality. This is what will happen when you visualize a new reality for yourself. At first it may seem like an alien environment. You'll have to play around with it for a while before you get used to it and it starts to seem normal to you. It's very important that you push beyond that freak-out phase. You must shift from thinking about your visions as fantasy to seeing them as real. A good movie to watch is Being John Malkovich. That will give you more insight into how to slip into an alternate reality and imagine life through the lens of your new character. Ideally, visualizing your future should be very much the same as remembering your past. Just as you would recall and mentally review what you did yesterday, that's how you want to imagine your new reality. What are the highlights of your typical day, and how do you feel about them? Notice that emotional memories are much stronger than routine events. Such memories can draw the past back into your present, but they can also draw a powerful future into your present if you create powerful new memories of the future. Partial visualization. One of the most common mistakes people make is that they fall into the trap of doing partial visualizations. They only imagine one or two aspects of their new reality but not the entire big picture. Or they'll imagine something that makes them feel a certain way, but it wouldn't actually be a part of their desired reality. For example, You may imagine seeing a pile of cash on your table and counting the bills. A lot of people suggest this exercise as a way of manifesting more money. I think it's a lame idea though. If you really had financial abundance, would you actually have a pile of cash currency in your home? That seems unlikely. If you were already living it, playing with your money or obsessing over it would be silly and immature. That's the sort of thing someone would do only if they weren't already living it. Partial visualizations manifest partial results. You may attract part of what you want, but it will be unstable because you've only locked onto some, but not all, of the necessary frequencies required to shift into that new reality. You may be able to visit it briefly, but you won't be able to stay long. When I was around 24 to 25 years old, I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and I started doing partial visualization exercises to attract more money into my life. I imagined having about $500,000 as a pile of cash on my bed. I felt the texture of the bills with my fingers. I saw it as very real and imagined what it would feel like to have that much cash all at once. Sometime after that, I don't recall how long, a few months maybe, I entered into a new game publishing deal with a total advance of $675,000. I soon received the first installment in the form of a check for $50,000, which was the biggest check I'd ever received at that point in my life. It appeared that my intention had manifested. However, this situation was incredibly unstable. The publisher turned out to be extremely corrupt. First, they screwed up the deal with seemingly insane delays and nonsensical decisions. Then they unilaterally breached our contract. And finally they tried to sue me, unsuccessfully, to recoup the $50K advance. Looking back, it appears that their goal was to tie up my team's project so that it wouldn't hit the market, while they had another team developing a potentially competing game. The initial $50K I received was spent on early development for a game that was never released. In the end I was left with a busted project and more debt than when I started. If I could have afforded the legal fees, which I couldn't at the time, I may have been able to successfully sue them for breach of contract, but that simply wasn't how I wanted to do business. I wanted to spend my time making games, not giving depositions. Years later this same publisher was publicly exposed for a massive accounting scandal, and the company and several officers were sued by the seconds. If I recall correctly, their CEO was fined $10 million and had to step down. That came as no surprise to me and many other developers who worked with them. Not a good manifestation. Although it seemed promising in the beginning, this attempt to manifest money completely imploded and left me worse off than when I started, aside from learning some very tough lessons, which in retrospect turned out to be quite valuable. I hope you can learn from my mistakes here and not succumb to the trap of partial visualization. In order to manifest your desires, you need to lock onto the total package of frequencies and the full range of emotions that you'll experience in your new reality. And one of the best ways to do that is to get really, really clear about what you want. Complete visualization. Don't just visualize one small part of your new reality, such as having more money come to you. Visualize the entire alternate reality you wish to enter, in as much detail as possible. It's okay to focus on one area of your life at a time. I personally find it rather difficult to visualize a whole new life for myself that covers career, finances, health, relationships, my daily habits, spiritual development, personal development, etc. So I generally focus on one area at a time, but I do my best to make sure it's congruent with my desires in other areas too. A few years ago I focused on creating financial abundance. Then I worked on social abundance, having lots of friends. Now I'm working on intimacy abundance, creating deeper relationships. All of these parts of my life are working beautifully right now. This process definitely works. Sometimes it works so well it scares me a bit. Career and finances are good areas to visualize together since most people generate income via their careers. Don't just imagine yourself having more money. Put in some detail about what is sustaining that flow of money. How is it being maintained? My initial attempts to manifest money flopped, or made things worse, because the big picture was incongruent. I was trying to pull money out of thin air, figuring it would come to me like magic. Well, this isn't magic. Not really. Similarly, in the area of social abundance, I didn't just manifest friends with magic. I had to see the big picture. This required thinking about what kind of friend I'd be. I thought about the kinds of friends I wanted to attract, and then I imagined what kind of friend I'd have to be in order to attract them to me, and to maintain good relationships with them. This made it clear that I had to work on myself too in order to step into that new reality. I had to become a better friend to others so I'd be worthy of those new relationships. I know some people who are working really hard at manifesting new relationships. But all they do is imagine the other person coming to them and loving them. That's a partial visualization, and it fails consistently. Honestly, I don't think I've seen this approach ever really work out. People do attract new partners this way, but the matches aren't very compatible. Suppose you're trying to attract a new woman by visualizing her in your life. She's everything you desire. She's a perfect match for you and absolutely amazing as a human being. You can't help but fall in love with that new reality. But will she fall in love with you, realistically? A new reality is something you're going to make real, it's not a fantasy. If you think your new reality is too good to be true, then well, it is too good to be true. What do you have to offer this woman? She may be your best possible match, but are you her best match as well, or will she have better options than you? Will she have to compromise her values and settle for less than she's worth to be with you? Will you really be able to maintain a relationship with someone like that? Are you worthy of her? These questions can hit people like a ton of bricks because they reveal our inadequacies. But we still need to address them. When you visualize your new reality, you must imagine yourself being the kind of person who can attract and hold on to all the good stuff you wish to manifest. That means you're going to have to work on yourself and grow into that kind of person. I know one woman who's been trying to manifest the perfect relationship for years. She goes on a lot of dates, yet she remains perpetually alone. It's obvious to me, and to many who know her, why that's so. The simple reason is that the man she desires wouldn't find her attractive at all. I can't even see that being a remote possibility. She's a kind-hearted person with a successful career, and she doesn't have a problem getting dates, but her personality is a total mismatch for the kind of man she wants. She doesn't fathom what such a man would find attractive in a relationship partner, so she lives in denial of the fact that he wouldn't be attracted to her. So she's always dating people where there's no two-way chemistry. If she keeps doing what she's been doing, she'll either remain alone indefinitely, or she'll eventually settle for an unstable connection with someone she doesn't find attractive or who doesn't find her attractive. In the area of career and finances, what kind of person will you have to become in order to attract and hold on to the abundance you desire? What will it take to be worthy of that kind of flow? When I was in my 20s, a $50K sum was too much for me to hold on to. I could attract such a sum on rare occasions, but I couldn't retain it. It would slip through my fingers like water. Eventually I stopped doing partial visualizations and began seeing the big picture. I realized I'd have to become a man who was worthy of abundance. This may mean something different to you, but to me it meant that I would need to be a kind and generous person who created a lot of value for others. That felt congruent to me. If I were a greedy bastard who was all about me, I'd feel I didn't deserve that kind of flow. In my visualizations I felt really good about centering my career around service to others, and I could see that this would be consistent with attracting and perpetuating a constant flow of good stuff through my life: money, good health, low stress, loving relationships, fresh opportunities, etc. The total package just made sense to me. I had to work a lot on myself to step into that new vision of me, but it definitely worked. In the past 5 years, I've put out enough free content to fill a couple dozen books. That feels really good to me. And resources flow to me so easily that I simply take it for granted that I can relax and enjoy whatever I want to experience in life. This works because it's a congruent and stable situation. I use my creativity to put out a lot of value for others, so naturally I receive a lot of value in return. But in order to reach this place, I had to go through many internal shifts to step into this new reality. In the area of social abundance, I do my best to be the kind of friend that's worthy of having amazing friendships. I support and encourage my friends to pursue their dreams, but I also love to joke around and have fun. Consequently, I attract and maintain relationships with like-minded people. I'm really good at attracting people who are loving life, who enjoy helping people, and who are very encouraging and supportive of me too. And I naturally repel people who wouldn't make good friends for me. In order to manifest what you desire, the total package must be congruent. There must be harmony between what you're attracting and what's attracting you. Too often people fall into the trap of trying to attract something that would naturally repel them, such as trying to manifest a flow of money without creating any value, or trying to attract a loving relationship without becoming a loving and attractive person. This is largely common sense, which many people seem to lose sight of when trying to apply the law of attraction. Will a health nut be attracted to a lazy couch potato? Will honest, conscious business people want to do business with someone who creates little value and is only in it for the money? Will an adventurous growth seeker be attracted to someone who's timid and security-minded? Even if these situations were to manifest, they're unstable and usually won't work out very well unless there's a strong attraction in some other area to compensate. Manifestations can occur very rapidly and powerfully once this harmony is achieved. But until that happens, results tend to be minimal or negative. Write it down. Imagining your new reality can be tricky if you try to do it all in your mind. You may find it helpful to sit down and write out what it will be like to experience your new reality, in as much detail as possible. For example, if you want to attract a certain type of person into your life, write out a detailed description of that person. Then you can use that as a guide when visualizing. Another option is to create a vision board by assembling a collection of photos or images, physical or digital, that helps you imagine the big picture. I recently stumbled upon an old journal entry where I wrote out several pages describing in detail what I wanted to experience in life. My life at the time was nowhere close to that reality. I put an incredible amount of detail into it, even including personality descriptions and physical attributes of imagined people, such as how tall they were or that they wore contact lenses or were left or right-handed. What really freaked me out is that there is now a person in my reality who matches someone I described about 95% accurately. This person was not on my radar at all when I wrote this journal entry. I wrote it in February 2001. My life was in a completely different place back then. Most of what I wrote about back then has already manifested. I'm now living it. Other parts of my reality have shifted so much that parts of my vision that seemed so far away are not nearly so distant now. I can actually see steps that would make more of them possible and realistic. The big picture is sliding towards me. I was talking with Erin about this last week, and she asked me, "Why did you put that kind of detail into it? Why did it matter to you that an imaginary person was nearsighted?" My best answer is that I found that a copious level of detail made it easier to see it as real. The vision became more believable. If the new reality is to become real, the people within it must be real too, not imaginary archetypes. Real people have height and weight. They may be nearsighted or left-handed. They may have pimples or unshaven faces. They wear certain types of clothes. They have unique personalities. If you suddenly slid into your new reality, you would instantly observe all of that detail. It would be right in front of you. So put it in front of you now. Create it in your imagination. Clarity creates believability, which gives rise to stronger, crisper vibrations than fogginess. It takes practice to get good at this, but the more you practice, the richer and more vivid your visualizations will become. That richness makes it easier to lock onto the new emotional states you're aiming to create. Manifesting intentions without resistance. Suppose you set a positive intention, focus your energy on its manifestation for the highest good of all, see the promising alpha reflection, and then watch your results completely stagnate. Why did your intention fail to manifest as quickly as you desired? Whenever this happens, the root cause is that you failed to become a vibrational match for your intentions. Probably without even realizing it, you remained stuck in a pattern of intending for your desires not to manifest, thereby sabotaging yourself from making progress. What creates this drag? The answer is your fears. Most of the time, your fears are subconscious. You aren't even aware of them, so they sabotage you from the shadows. Your fears act as intentions which keep your desires from manifesting. The more you resonate with fear, the worse your results will be when consciously trying to apply the law of attraction. The lower is still working fine, but you'll be inclined to think it doesn't work because your fears will cause you to keep manifesting more of the same. And the harder you push, the more your fears push back. In this article I'll offer you a process for bringing your fears to the surface and getting them out of your way, so you can stop them from interfering with your positive intentions. This will allow you to manifest your desires faster and more easily. Intentions are a package deal. When you set a goal or an intention and begin moving towards it much more slowly than you'd like, the drag you experience comes from your fears, not the external world. If you put all your energy into changing your external circumstances without addressing your fears, your progress will be extremely slow, if you even move at all. How can you identify the fears that interfere with your positive intentions? Here's a fairly straightforward way to do it. First, imagine you've already manifested your intention in its entirety. Sit quietly and just imagine it as being real right now. Don't imagine it happening in the future, imagine it right now. You're already there. It's a done deal. Take a few minutes to make it as real as possible. Now do some role-playing in your imagination. Mentally act out a few different scenarios to get a feel for what your life will really be like once this intention has become your present reality. Consider the major side effects. How will the achievement of this goal affect your health, finances, relationships, career, spiritual practice, etc.? In what other ways will it change you? No change occurs in isolation, so how will this change ripple outward and create other changes? Try to get a clear sense of the whole package of changes, and see if you can figure out where your life might re-stabilize after the initial change. For example, if your intention is to manifest $1 million, imagine how that extra money will affect the other parts of your life. How will it affect your family, your friendships, your living situation, your career, your taxes, your eating habits, your spending habits, your spirituality? How will this one change create a tidal wave of other changes? Where will you actually end up when the dust finally settles? Don't idealize or demonize these side effects. Do your best to imagine the most realistic results you can. Manifesting $1 million, losing 50 pounds, getting married, moving to a new city, or switching careers are significant changes. A common mistake we make when putting out new intentions is that we consider those intentions in isolation, failing to account for the complete package of side effects. If you spend even 10 minutes doing this exercise, longer is good too, you'll notice there's a lot more to your intentions than you initially realized. But if you don't consider these side effects when focusing on your intentions, then your intentions will have little power to manifest because deep down, you'll know they don't represent a realistic, stable situation. If you want your intentions to manifest, then you need to understand that they're a package deal. You have to accept and intend the whole package, not just the convenient parts. Uncovering hidden fears that sabotage your intentions. When you consider the whole package of your intentions, you'll notice some internal resistance. Some parts of your visualization will be wonderful, while other parts will seem undesirable. For example, if your intention is to manifest $1 million, and you know deep down that one of your close friends simply won't be able to handle it because he responds negatively to anyone with that kind of money, then you may feel some resistance about manifesting the money. You want the intention, but you're unhappy with the side effects. Any undesirable elements that come up during this exercise will be pointers to your fears. What holds you back from being totally congruent with your intentions isn't the total package itself, since that package is, so far, only in your imagination. What holds you back is the fear that arises when you consider the total package. Going back to the example of your friend who responds negatively to financial wealth, your friend isn't holding you back at all. It's the fear of your friend's reaction that's the real culprit. Even if you never told your friend about your intention to manifest $1 million, you'd still suffer the intention-blocking effects of your fear. Both your fears and your desires exist only within your consciousness at this point, not in the physical world, so the entire conflict is an internal one. But a lack of internal congruency is all it takes to kill your best intentions. As you explore your visualization of the total package, take note of which parts you resist, and try to express them in words. For example, here are some fears you might list when you think about manifesting $1 million. Fear that you'll lose the money foolishly after putting so much energy into manifesting it. Fear that your life will become too complicated trying to manage the money. Fear that you'll be stingy with the money, thereby having to admit you're a stingy person. Fear that your accounting and tax situation will become more complicated. Fear that the money will strain your relationships. Fear that the money will distract you from what's most important to you. Fear that managing the money will be stressful. Fear that having more money will create more responsibility. Fear that the money will isolate you, distancing you from your peers, and so on. Make a list like the one above for your own intentions. What fears arise when you imagine the total package? Where do you experience resistance? One good fear is all it takes to keep your positive intentions from manifesting. Fear keeps you from becoming a vibrational match for your desires. From fear to acceptance. If you want your intentions to manifest, you must eliminate the fears that conflict with your intentions. Once all the fear is gone, your intentions will manifest quite easily. But as long as you fail to address your fears, no amount of force will permit your intentions to manifest. One of the simplest ways to eliminate your fears is to accept them. Stop feeding your fears with intentional energy, and just allow them to be. For example, if you simply accept that if you manifested $1 million, that yes, your tax situation would become more complicated, then you're no longer turning that drawback into a fear. You've downgraded the fear into a consequence. The difference between a fear and a consequence is acceptance. A fear is an outcome you resist. A consequence is an outcome you accept. When you fear part of the package that surrounds your desire, you effectively resist your desire, meaning that you intend it not to manifest. But when you accept the total package, you allow your desire to manifest without resistance. This is what it means to become a vibrational match for your intentions. If you aren't ready to accept the total package surrounding your desires, then you aren't ready to manifest your desires. This was a particularly difficult lesson for me to learn. Once I understood that if I wanted to manifest a new desire, I had to accept the whole package of side effects without resistance, I began getting noticeably better results with the law of attraction. Lately I've been testing the law in the financial area of my life because it's easy to measure the results to assess how well it's working. When I began intending greater financial abundance with the $1 Million Experiment kickoff in November 2005, I made some early progress, but I wondered why the money didn't manifest instantly if the lower truly works. Why should the lower require the passage of time to manifest anything? Eventually, when I tried the above exercise of visualizing the whole package, it became obvious that I was resisting, also known as fearing, the side effects of having $1 million. Even though my intentions were positive, my fear was still creating a lot of drag. One by one I've been working on those fears by acknowledging and accepting them as consequences. Once I release my resistance, I create an empowering belief to replace the fear. This just means I take the same consequence and find a way to interpret it as a positive instead of negative, via creative observation. For example, if I fear having $1 million because it will complicate my tax situation, I first accept it as a consequence by letting go of my resistance. I admit to myself, okay, so more money will mean a more complicated tax situation. That's just a fact to be accepted, not something dreadful I need to fear. I can deal with it. Then I shift it over to an empowering belief by saying, if I have more money, I can hire a good accountant to handle my taxes, so even though my situation may be more complicated, I'll be able to afford all the help I need. As another example, I worried that some people would react negatively to my attempts to attract greater financial abundance. Misjudging my motives and assuming I'm just in it for the money, especially as I reach beyond the survival income range and into the abundance range. But I realized this is totally my issue, not anyone else's. If my motives are honorable and genuinely focused on serving the highest good of all, then I needn't worry about anyone's opinion of me. The very fact that I'm so concerned about this issue indicates that I care far more about service than I do about money anyway. My external reputation is out of my control because it exists purely in other people's minds, so I can't allow myself to become attached to it. I can only do my best and accept the consequences. I choose to focus on the good I can do with more money, including finding new ways to explore and express my purpose. Has this process of working through my fears been effective? I have no doubt that it has. I can feel how much my energy has shifted over the past year. Consider that today this website generates more than 10x the income it did a year ago, and my expectation is that it will generate at least $500,000 in 2007 if I simply continue doing what I'm already doing. Moreover, I can envision a clear and unobstructed path to an income of $100,000 per month. This money isn't flowing because I'm forcing it, I'm simply allowing it to arrive. The real work isn't what I do with my business, it's what I do with my consciousness. I absolutely, positively must credit this financial increase to working through my fears, accepting them as consequences, and replacing them with empowering beliefs. In the past several months, the money has been flowing in such avalanches it's almost ridiculous how easy it is. Easy from a business standpoint, but still a challenge to work through those fears. This process requires some deep self-assessment and introspection, so it's not an overnight fix by any means. For me it's been extremely eye-opening though. I've been amazed at just how many fears came up that I needed to deal with. I realized that in order to overcome a fear, I must first identify it. It's become abundantly clear that the more I work through my fears, the faster my results improve. I still have more internal resistance to deal with, so I'm certainly not done yet. But I know that this process works. The really insidious part, the part that keeps me up at night thinking about it, is whether the intention of the $1 Million Experiment itself is responsible for my discovering that I needed to work through my fears to allow the original intention to manifest. Will a powerful intention actually manifest the very tools necessary to help it manifest? Consider that this website is the central hub of the $1 Million Experiment. If I can successfully manifest $1 million via the experiment's intention, then I'll surely explain all the details here and offer whatever insights I can into how to accelerate the process, thereby potentially enabling thousands of other participants to use the same process to generate their $1 million as well. Could it be that the mere intention is all it takes to get the ball rolling, and keep it rolling, even in the presence of deep-seated resistance? Creative observation. A common question I get about intention manifestation is something along these lines: how come when I wholeheartedly intend X to happen, I still get the opposite of X? For example, how come when I intend wealth, I'm still poor? How come when I intend a new relationship, I'm still alone? How come when I intend a new career, I'm still stuck in the old one? These are excellent questions. The answer is that intention manifestation always works. When it seems like it isn't working, the reason is that while you're correctly putting out the intention for what you want, you're also putting out the intention to continue manifesting what you don't want. And you're probably doing a lot more of the latter than the former, so if your situation changes at all, it will happen very slowly. But if you keep it up, it will still work. However, most people give up on their positive intentions long before they have a chance to manifest, and by default they go back to thinking about what they don't want, so all progress is erased. Imagine you're driving a car up a hill. What happens to the car if you stop partway up the hill and put the car in neutral? You slide back down the hill, erasing all your progress. No matter how many times you rerun this routine, you get the same result. Observation is creative. Now how is it that people keep thinking about what they don't want even when they're hugely motivated to manifest something new? It's very simple. If you're in a situation you don't want to be in, and you observe it or notice it, you're thinking about it. That means you're intending its continuation. For example, if you're overweight and you're intending to be thin, and you go to the mirror and see your overweight body, you just intended the opposite of what you want, thereby negating your intention to be thin. That's harsh, isn't it? But this is why intentions can take a while to manifest. Now how the heck are you supposed to focus on what you want if your current situation is something you don't want, and merely observing your current situation is enough to negate your positive intention? That, of course, is the million-dollar question. Fortunately, there's a million-dollar answer: creative observation. Let's review the rules of intention manifestation. 1. All thought is creative. Every thought is an intention, including your perceptions. Observation is active creation, not passive witnessing. There's no such thing as observation without creation. 2. 100% responsibility. You're 100% responsible for everything that exists in your reality. If you perceive it, you created it. 3. Only the present is real. You only have power in this present moment, the past and future are merely projections you're creating right now. If you remember that X happened in the past, you're creating that past right now. To remember is to think, and to think is to intend. 4. No denial. You cannot uncreate what you've already manifested. Once something has manifested in your reality, it's too late to uncreate it. The mere act of observing it will perpetuate it. It makes no sense to deny what you've already created. If you perceive it, you've made it real. 4 is the tricky part. You can't uncreate what you've already manifested. Once something appears in your reality, it's no longer just potential. You've made it real. Now it's stuck in your awareness, and you'll continue creating it merely by observing it. For example, if you're broken in debt, you can't manifest wealth by denying your poverty. You've already created poverty, it's as real as solid rock. So the first part of adaptive creation is to accept the reality of everything you've created so far. Even if you don't see how you attracted it, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that it's real right now, so acknowledge and accept your current situation honestly, even if you don't particularly like it. Even if you downright hate it. Now let's say you want to go from A to B, where A is the current situation you've already manifested, and B is a new situation you'd like to manifest. Maybe it's fat to thin, rags to riches, loneliness to romance, wage slave to business owner, etc. It's nearly impossible to focus all your attention on B without thinking about A, especially if you fail just by noticing A. How can you not think about being overweight if you're stuck in your overweight body every single moment? How can you not think about being broke if you don't have the money to pay your bills? All observation is creatively biased. The key is that when you observe your current reality, you always observe with a bias. Your bias is rooted in your beliefs, but let's simplify that model to just 3 general biases: positive, negative, or neutral. All observation can be assigned one of these 3 bias values. Suppose you observe the current state of your situation, and it's not remotely what you want. That's fine, it's perfectly okay to acknowledge that. But while you're observing your situation, you're also expecting one of 3 things to happen. 1. The situation is improving, 2. The situation is declining, or 3. The situation is stable. This expectation may be subconscious much of the time, but it's always there in some form. Assuming you intend your situation to improve, which of these 3 observational biases makes the most sense? Clearly the positive one bias is the way to go. In order for intention manifestation to work smoothly, whenever you observe your current situation, even as it continues to conflict with what you really want, you must observe with positive bias as much as possible. This will allow you to observe reality without simultaneously negating your positive intention. Why a positive attitude is critical. This is precisely why a positive mental attitude is effective. Attitude is absolutely critical. If you spend time focusing on your positive intentions, but you also observe your present situation in either a neutral or negative way, you're wasting your time. This is why you don't get thin by harboring thoughts like, "I hate being fat." Instead you must acknowledge your present overweight body while latching onto the hope that your momentum is headed towards your goal weight. Fortunately, no matter how overweight, broke, lonely, or unmotivated you are, there's always hope. There's always the possibility of turning things around. Even if pure dumb luck is the only ray of hope you can accept right now, that's a step in the right direction. Hold that hope as a general positive expectation rather than becoming attached to just one way your positive intentions might manifest. For example, you might focus on the hope of attracting better financial luck, but don't assume that it will come in the form of a lottery win. This is why goal setting sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. You'll achieve your goals if you observe your present reality with a positive momentum in the direction of your goals. But if you set a goal and observe your present situation with a negative or neutral bias, then your goals have no power to induce change. My experience: I've been testing this creative observation strategy for several weeks now. Whenever I observe something in my reality that I don't like or that conflicts with my positive intentions, I do my best to look for any shred of hope for improvement and focus on that. I keep observing with a positive bias, always asking, "What's good about this?" As I observe my present reality, I am literally trying to bend it in the direction of my intentions. I look for any reasonable excuse that the momentum of a situation is positive and improving in the direction of my intentions. I accept the situation as it is, so there's no denial, but I'm imagining it getting better at the same time. So even though this particular point may not be what I want, I imagine it as part of a line that's sloping towards my goal. I observed the position but visualize it with a positive velocity. If the velocity of the immediate past is negative, then I imagine a deceleration followed by a new acceleration in a more positive direction. For example, if my kids are beginning to misbehave in public, and if their behavior is gradually worsening, I acknowledge and accept what's happening while visualizing a positive turnaround on its way. The results of this test are still accruing, But so far I am convinced it's having a major impact already. Since I started doing this, I've had 2 major new potential partners come into my life, one of which I've already received a contract from for a new deal that I can hopefully announce this fall. I've also had lots of smaller opportunities crop up out of the blue. In all cases these were apparent coincidences, everyone came to me. It was totally effortless. The law of attraction. The law of attraction simply says that you attract into your life whatever you think about. Your dominant thoughts will find a way to manifest. But the law of attraction gives rise to some tough questions that don't seem to have good answers. I would say, however, that these problems aren't caused by the law of attraction itself but rather by the law of attraction as applied to objective reality. Here are some of those problematic questions. All are generalizations of ones I received via email. What happens when people put out conflicting intentions, like 2 people intending to get the same promotion when only one position is available? Do children, babies, and your animals put out intentions? If a child is abused, does that mean the child intended it in some way? If I intend for my relationship to improve, but my spouse doesn't seem to care, what will happen? These questions seem to weaken the plausibility of the law of attraction. Sometimes people answer them by going pretty far out. For example, it's been said by lawyers that a young child experiences abuse because he intended it or earned it during a past life. Well, sure. We can explain just about anything if we bring past lives into the equation, but that's a cop-out. On the other hand, objective reality without the law of attraction doesn't provide satisfactory answers either. Supposedly some kids are just born unlucky. That's a cop-out too. I've never been satisfied by others' answers to these questions, and they're pretty important questions if the law of attraction is to be believed. Some books hint at the solution but never really nail it. That nail, however, can be found in the concept of subjective reality. Subjective reality is a belief system in which, 1. There is only one consciousness, 2. You are that singular consciousness, and, 3. Everything and everyone in your reality is a projection of your thoughts. You may not see it yet, but subjective reality neatly answers all these tricky law of attraction questions. Let me explain. In subjective reality there's only one consciousness, and it's yours. Consequently, there's only one source of intentions in your universe, you. While you may observe lots of walking, talking bodies in your reality, they all exist inside your consciousness. You know this is how your dreams work, but you haven't yet realized your waking reality is just another type of dream. It only seems solid because you intend it is. Since none of the other characters you encounter are conscious in a way that's separate from you, nobody else can have intentions. The only intentions are yours. You're the only thinker in this universe. It's important to correctly define the you in subjective reality. You are not your physical body. This is not the egoic you at all. I'm not suggesting you're a conscious body walking around in a world full of unconscious automatons. That would be a total misunderstanding of subjective reality. The correct viewpoint is that you're the single consciousness in which this entire reality takes place. Imagine you're having a dream. In that dream, what exactly are you? Are you the physical dream character you identify with? No, of course not, that's just your dream avatar. You are the dreamer. The entire dream occurs within your consciousness. All dream characters are projections of your dream thoughts, including your avatar. In fact, if you learn lucid dreaming, you can even switch avatars in your dream by possessing another character. In a lucid dream, you can do anything you believe you can. Physical reality works the same way. This is a denser universe than what you experience in your sleeping dreams, so changes occur a bit more gradually here. But this reality still conforms to your thoughts just like a sleeping dream. You are the dreamer in which all of this is taking place. The idea that other people have intentions is an illusion because other people are just projections. Of course, if you strongly believe other people have intentions, then that's the dream you'll create for yourself. But ultimately it's still an illusion. Here's how subjective reality answers these challenging law of attraction questions. What happens when people put out conflicting intentions, like two people intending to get the same promotion when only one position is available? Since you're the only intender, this is entirely an internal conflict within you. You're holding the thought, the intention, for both people to want the same position. But you're also thinking, intending, that only one can get it. So you're intending competition. This whole situation is your creation. You believe in competition, so that's what you manifest. Maybe you have some beliefs, thoughts and intentions, about who will get the promotion, in which case your expectations will manifest. But you may have a higher order belief that life is random, unfair, uncertain, etc. So in that case you may manifest a surprise because that's what you're intending. Being the only intender in your reality places a huge responsibility on your shoulders. You can give up control of your reality by thinking, intending, randomness and uncertainty, but you can never give up responsibility. You're the sole creator in this universe. If you think about war, poverty, disease, etc., that's exactly what you'll manifest. If you think about peace, love, and joy, you'll manifest the two. Your reality is exactly what you think it is. Whenever you think about anything, you summon its manifestation. Do children, babies, and your animals put out intentions? No. Your own body doesn't even put out intentions, only your consciousness does. You're the only one who has intentions, so what takes precedence is what you intend for the children, babies, and animals in your reality. Every thought is an intention, so however you think about the other beings in your reality is what you'll eventually manifest for them. Keep in mind that beliefs are hierarchical, so if you have a high-order belief that reality is random and unpredictable and out of your control, then that intention will trump other intentions of which you're less certain. It's your entire collection of thoughts that dictates how your reality manifests. If a child is abused, does that mean the child intended it in some way? No. It means you intended it. You intend child abuse to manifest simply by thinking about it. The more you think about child abuse, or any other subject, the more you'll see it expand in your reality. Whatever you think about expands, and not just in the narrow space of your avatar but in all of physical reality. If I intend for my relationship to improve, but my spouse doesn't seem to care, what will happen? This is another example of intending conflict. You're projecting one intention for your avatar and one for your spouse, so the actual unified intention is that of conflict. Hence the result you experience, subject to the influence of your higher order beliefs, will be to experience conflict with your spouse. If your thoughts are conflicted, your reality is conflicted. This is why assuming responsibility for your thoughts is so important. If you want to see peace in the world, then intend peace for everything in your reality. If you want to see abundance in the world, then intend it for everyone. If you want to enjoy loving relationships, then intend loving relationships for all. If you intend these only for your own avatar but not for others, then you're intending conflict, division, and separation. Consequently, that's what you'll experience. If you stop thinking about something entirely, does that mean it disappears? Yes, technically it does. But in practice it's next to impossible to uncreate what you've already manifested. You'll continue creating the same problems just by noticing them. But when you assume 100% responsibility for everything you're experiencing in your reality right now, absolutely everything, then you assume the power to alter your reality by rechanneling your thoughts. This entire reality is your creation. Feel good about that. Feel grateful for the richness of your world. And then begin creating the reality you truly want by making decisions and holding intentions. Think about what you desire, and withdraw your thoughts from what you don't want. The most natural, easiest way to do this is to pay attention to your emotions. Thinking about your desires feels good, and thinking about what you don't want makes you feel bad. When you notice yourself feeling bad, you've caught yourself thinking about something you don't want. Turn your focus back towards what you do want, and your emotional state will improve rapidly. As you do this repeatedly, you'll begin to see your physical reality shift too, first in subtle ways and then in bigger leaps. I too am just a manifestation of your consciousness. I play the role you expect me to play. If you expect me to be a helpful guide, I will be. If you expect me to be profound and insightful, I will be. If you expect me to be confused or deluded, I will be. But of course there's no distinct me that is separate from you. I'm just one of your many creations. I am what you intend me to be. But deep down you already knew that, didn't you? Feeling blessed? It's easy to get caught up in the pattern of thinking too much about what you don't want. This includes noticing what you already have in your life but don't like. If you think often about what you don't want, it's a safe bet you'll make a mess of your life. Thinking about what you don't want is a trap. Such thoughts can keep you stuck for a very long time. You can seriously blow years, even decades, of your life in the following vicious cycle. 1. Look around and observe what you're experiencing. 2. Notice that you don't like certain aspects of your life. 3. Feel fear, worry, sadness, disappointment, and/or other negative emotions. 4. Think about what it would take to change what you dislike. 5. Notice that it will probably take a huge amount of time and effort to change, and with no guarantee of success. Consider that you might even make things worse. 6. Feel frustrated, trapped, and/or depressed. 7. Do something that makes you feel better. Watch TV. Eat. Drink. Surf the web. Check email. Maybe do all of the above. 8. Feel some relief and comfort now that you have distracted and/or drugged yourself. 9. Allow some time to pass, and eventually repeat from step 1. Do you ever run this pattern or something similar? There are many variations on the above, but you'll probably recognize patterns like this running in your life right now. When do you run this kind of pattern? With your relationships, or lack thereof? With your job/career? With your finances? With your living situation? With your physical body? Here's a specific example of how you might run this pattern on your finances. 1. Observe something that triggers negative thoughts about your finances. It could be a bank statement, a bill, a blog post about money, the sorry contents of your wallet, or the prices at the gas station. The stimulus could also be internal, perhaps triggered by a random thought about your money situation. 2. Notice that your finances aren't where you want them to be. You don't have enough cash, your income is too low, your expenses are too high, or you're too deep in debt. Maybe it's all of the above. 3. Worry about your financial situation. Be upset that things aren't working. Worry that your situation may worsen. 4. Consider what you'd have to do to earn more money, pay off your debt, and/or reduce your expenses. 5. Notice that it will take a lot of hard work and some unpleasant changes to get your finances where you want them to be, and there's a good chance you'll fail anyway. 6. Feel frustrated, stressed, and overwhelmed. Conclude that this is too much to deal with right now. 7. Spend a few hours web surfing to comfort yourself. Watch a movie. Eat some food that makes you feel better, even though it may not be the healthiest choice for you. 8. Feel some temporary relief from your troubles. 9. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, and run the same script again. We can summarize the general pattern like this: think about what you don't want, feel bad, comfort yourself. This pattern is very, very common. It's also highly addictive. But it's not very intelligent. The reason this pattern isn't intelligent is that it never cures the underlying problem. You only treat the symptoms. You address the negative emotions by comforting yourself for a while, but the problem remains. The negative emotions will surely return to haunt you again and again. Whenever you notice that you're comforting yourself as a way of dealing with negative emotions and the problems that gave rise to them, recognize that you're guaranteeing that your problems will continue to bug you. Once you get stuck in this pattern for a sufficient length of time, it's hard to quit. You'll probably just keep running it over and over, perhaps every day for years to come. Breaking the pattern. So how can we break this destructive chain? It's hard, but not impossible, to catch yourself thinking about what you don't want and then to consciously shift your thoughts to something more positive. Usually this approach fails though. It's hard to choose positive thoughts while you're stuck in the pattern of thinking negative thoughts. It's even harder to break out of the pattern when you're already feeling bad. By that point you'll feel an overwhelming urge to comfort yourself, and you won't be motivated to do anything else. It appears that the easiest place to break the pattern is after you've comforted yourself. Now you're feeling temporarily relieved. You're more relaxed and not as stressed as you were earlier. You're a bit more conscious too. You may be a bit tired, but you can muster a small amount of motivation to do something different here. Is this the time to start making changes? No, not yet. If you try to solve your problems with action at this point, you'll probably just start the pattern over again. You'll begin to notice how bad your situation is and how much work it will take to fix it, and then you'll start feeling bad again. That approach keeps you stuck in the loop. It can work in some cases, but it usually requires a ton of self-discipline, and you're very likely to fail. A better approach is to take your feelings of relief and extend them into feeling excited. I'll explain how to do this. Think about what you want until you're genuinely excited. Once you're feeling relieved and comforted, even if you've had to drug yourself with food, wine, and mindless entertainment to reach this point, you're in a reasonably good place to start thinking about what you want instead of what you don't want. Don't worry about action just yet. That will come later. Just start thinking about what you want. Dwell on it. Obsess over it. Imagine how you want things to be. Imagine everything in your life working out beautifully. Don't worry about practicality. Just fantasize. But fantasize in a specific way. Sit on your couch, or a chair or a park bench if people came and took your couch away, and imagine that what you want is actually becoming real. Put yourself in the frame of mind that it's already happening. A realistic way to do this is to set aside 20 minutes every evening before going to bed just to dream. Do this sitting up so you don't fall asleep. Close your eyes or stare off into space, and think about what you want to experience in each part of your life. Whatever you think about is fine, as long as it feels good to you. Imagine your ideal physical body. Think about your ideal relationships. Picture your ideal career. Imagine having your finances just the way you want them. Imagine living where and how you want to live. Be specific, and picture as much detail as you can. Don't worry about getting the details perfect, just imagine details that seem attractive to you. Make sure these imaginings are fully associated. This means that you imagine seeing each scene through your own eyes. Generally you should avoid using a third-person perspective, although you can try it if you want to imagine things from a different angle. Usually the first-person perspective will create stronger emotions. You don't have to say or affirm anything. But it's crucial that you feel the feelings. If you feel neutral, you're not there yet. How would you honestly feel if you were experiencing all of these wonderful things right now? If you'd feel totally neutral to have them right now, it's safe to say you don't really want them. Don't project your dreams into some distant future. Imagine that whatever you want is happening right now, this very moment. Imagine that it's 100% real. If it takes you 10 or more minutes just to get a clear picture of some small part of your life getting better, then so be it. Put in the time. Deliberately thinking about what you want is a very important activity. This kind of visualization is an outstanding use of your time. If you think about what you want, and you imagine it as real, but you get very little emotional surge from it, then drop it for a while, and imagine something else. Go bigger. Go bolder. Go sexier. Involve other people. Involve the whole planet if that's what it takes to stir your emotions. It's your imagination. You don't need anyone's approval to choose the thoughts that feel good to you. Don't spend much time thinking about what makes you feel relieved and comfortable. Think about what excites you. Imagine scenes that make you ooze with passion. If you have a hard time getting excited, then keep imagining different things. There's no time limit. When you fantasize about having sex, notice how it affects your body. You should have a similar physiological, downright lusty, response when thinking about what you really, truly desire. If your body doesn't respond, drop the visualization you're doing, and think about something else. Explore your imagination to figure out what you really want. You may be surprised. Again, don't worry about practicality. It doesn't matter if you can actually have all the good things you're visualizing. You can fantasize about having superpowers if you want, as long as you can get yourself to imagine yourself there right now in the present moment, feeling the feelings intensely. The most important part is to get yourself feeling really, really good, and that's fairly easy to accomplish if you spend some time thinking deeply about what you truly want and imagining it as real. Bare minimum, do this exercise for 20 minutes at a time every day for a week. That's 7 days, not just 5 days. If you skip a day, start over from day 1. When I do this for 20 minutes straight, I find it hard to stop. I usually end up going for about 45 minutes at a time. When I first started doing this, it would take me 10 minutes or longer to find a thought that really excited me. Now I can usually get there within 30 seconds or less. You might assume that sexual thoughts are a good place to start. I don't recommend that because sexual thoughts can become too addictive and circular. They can cause you to feel a need to take care of yourself if you get too aroused, but in this case you want to retain the excitement instead of dissipating it. You want to be sure to cover all parts of your life. Search for thoughts that excite your whole being, not just your lower chakras. They may still have a strong sex energy component to them, but there will be other components too, such as a feeling of heart-centeredness and the desire for creative self-expression. When does action happen? Within a few days of beginning this daily exercise, you'll notice a shift in your focus, even while you're engaged in other activities. You'll notice that you spend even more time thinking about what you want and less time worrying about what you don't want. Distracting and comforting yourself won't seem as attractive as the excitement you build when thinking about what you want. Activities that used to comfort you will begin to seem dull and boring. Pretty soon fresh, creative ideas will be popping into your mind. Some of these will be partial solutions to your various problems. Other ideas will lead you down a different path. These ideas will often be more practical and realistic than your grand visualizations. Allow yourself to ponder these ideas, but don't force yourself to act on them. Over time your excitement will build. Some of those new ideas will inspire and motivate you to get moving. You'll find yourself wanting to write some of them down, or perhaps you'll feel an urge to journal about them further. Maybe you'll feel like doing a little brainstorming to expand these ideas. Feel free to do whatever feels good to you, but don't force action. It will come eventually. As your good feelings and excitement continue to build, you'll reach the point where you practically have to hold yourself back from taking action. It will feel unnatural and uncomfortable not to act. But until that happens, just continue the pattern of thinking about what you want for at least 20 minutes every day. If it takes a few weeks to get to the point where you're positively compelled to act, that's fine. That's still superior to running the self-destructive loop for several more years. The positive cycle basically looks like this: think about what you want, feel excited and motivated, take inspired action and get results. Usually when I start thinking about something new that I want, as described above, I feel compelled to act within the first few days. It's hard to last a week without desperately wanting to dive in and do something about it, assuming I think about it every day. This kind of action is inspired. Although you may feel a desire to work hard at some point, it won't feel like hard work. There may be a lot of activity, but it will feel like play. Imagine going to Disneyland, or your favorite amusement park, for a day. You'll probably take a lot of action while you're there. You may walk for miles, stand in lines, go on rides, buy food, etc. Do you consider that hard work? Probably not. When you're enjoying inspired action, it feels the same as spending a day at Disneyland. You glide from one activity to the next with a feeling of positive anticipation. At the end of the day you may be tired from all the activity, but you wouldn't consider it a work day. It's too fun to think of it as work. This is how I feel when I get inspired by an idea. I may take a lot of action on the implementation side, but it doesn't feel like work. I'm too excited and motivated to stop and think about the difficulty. I'm just soaking up the positive anticipation of the next step in the process. For example, Sunday afternoon I did an hour-long meditation. While I was in a fairly deep state, I asked my spirit guides for a good topic for my next article. One of them, the one I call my wisdom guide, suggested I write something about blessings or feeling blessed. I sensed that her intent was for me to write about how to shift our thinking towards what we want and away from what we don't want. It wasn't the topic I was originally planning to write about this week, but the idea felt good to me. While I was doing some physical tasks around the house, I thought about the article idea. I imagined how the final result might help people make positive changes and be happier. It felt good to imagine that. I started to get excited about writing on this topic, even though I had no idea how I'd write it or what I would say. I sat down at my computer and put on some Celtic music. Then I just started writing. No outline. I just started with the first line and kept typing until I got to the end. I didn't know where it would lead or how it would end. About 3 hours later I was done. I enjoyed writing this article. It didn't feel like work at all. It was a smooth and easy flow of ideas. Feeling blessed: when you develop the daily habit of kicking back and thinking about what you want, it soon becomes self-perpetuating. Your inspired actions lead to results that make you feel even better. This creates momentum that makes it hard not to think about all the great things that are coming up. For example, when your income keeps going up, it's hard not to imagine how much more you'll be earning a year from now. Positive action and positive feelings reinforce each other. Sure, you'll have some setbacks and failures now and then, but this pattern works much better than the comfort pattern in the long run. When you're enjoying this upward spiral, you feel blessed. You feel like the universe is conspiring to make you happier and happier. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. It really doesn't. Your current reality can be a total wasteland, and you can still take time out of each day to think about what you want. Many years ago, when I was broke and deep in debt, and my monthly expenses were 10x higher than my income, not a good situation, I used to walk to the beach and look out at the ocean. I'd say to myself, at least this is free. That was something I did to comfort myself and to let go of some of the stress. But while I was there, I began to imagine how my life might someday be no better. No more mountain of debt. No more mailbox stuffed with letters from creditors. No more feeling like I'd screwed up. At the time it seemed like pure fantasy to imagine what I wanted. But at least that kind of fantasizing made me feel good. It was better than comfort and relief. It was more exciting. Unfortunately, I made a mistake in doing my visualizations back then. I projected all those dreams into the future. I couldn't imagine them becoming fully real because they were too far beyond my present reality. So I pushed them out into some distant future time. Although it may have seemed sensible, it was still a mistake because it dampened my positive emotions. I couldn't get as excited about something in the distant future. Taking action remained a daily struggle, and I remained stuck in the trap of comforting myself to handle the stress. It was only when I stopped pushing those positive thoughts into the future that my financial situation began to change for the better in a big way. I started imagining things getting better right now instead of months or years down the road. That put me into a more motivated frame of mind. It wasn't the thought of having more money that excited me. I was more excited by the thought of having the freedom to make a meaningful contribution to the world. I didn't really care about money at all. I just needed to be in a situation where money wasn't an obstacle. My best visualizations usually didn't involve money. I felt more inspired by creating and sharing things than by acquiring stuff. I still feel this way today. Imagining myself having millions of dollars bores me. I just don't see the point. My emotions respond, we don't care. But when I think about expressing and sharing ideas with other people, that actually gets me excited. When I think about bringing people together, that excites me too. Your values may be very different than mine, and that's fine. The point is that you may need to release some socially conditioned notions to get to the real truth. Don't fall into the trap of obsessing over what society has taught you that you should want, such as lots of money, a cool car, or a model's physique. You need to go deeper to figure out what you really want. And then you must accept that you want it, even if you think other people would consider you foolish for wanting it. If you really, truly want it, let that be enough. Initially I found it very difficult to get myself to imagine having what I wanted in the present moment. My logical mind rejected the notion because it was clear that I wasn't anywhere close to having what I wanted. But I found a nice little trick that helped a lot. I imagined that I'd shifted to an alternate reality where there was another me who was experiencing exactly what I wanted right now. I just had to tune my thoughts to the right frequency to feel what he was feeling. My logical mind was okay with that. It's funny that it could accept the idea of alternate dimensions, even though it couldn't quite accept the idea of having what I wanted right this instant. The benefits I've received from deliberately cultivating the habit of thinking about what I want are downright disgusting. I feel very blessed. I get very inspired by thoughts of helping people grow. I love encouraging people to live a little more consciously. I like challenging people to consider different perspectives. I know that many people think such pursuits are lame, naive, or pointless. I don't care. This path inspires me. The more I think about it, the better I feel. It wouldn't matter if the whole world disagreed with me. I know that I've discovered something that means a lot to me. And that's enough. It took many years, but I figured out that all I really need to be happy is to maintain the habit of thinking about what I want. I just need to carve a little time out of each day to think about what feels amazingly good to me. The emotional energy this creates is so strong that 20 minutes a day soon overpowers thoughts of stress, frustration, worry, or overwhelm. Please give this process a try. Do it for at least 7 days in a row, 20 minutes minimum each time. After you've run your relief/comfort ritual at the end of your day, take 20 more minutes to run this excitement ritual. Allow yourself to feel blessed every single day, even if you have to mentally visit an alternate dimension to get yourself to accept it as real.